Yeah.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock on the 23rd of January, 2024. In the room, we have Patrick, Karen, Edie, myself, Patty, and Mike, and we have Stephen Chait online. So, any changes or additions?
For me.
Just double check, I did. I have a slight change, but we can, not a change, but I want to do an emphasis on the surplus deficit since Patty is here. But we can talk about it in the context of the budget finalization, because it's one of our budget
Okay,
schedules.
okay, so that's fine. So we're trying to approve minutes for the 16th and the 20th of January.
Yeah,
That's
so
what's
on,
on the agenda.
so on the 16th, I drafted these, the only mistakes are mine. And I put in yellow things that I didn't quite know, and Edie, I'm sure you didn't get a chance to take a look at them.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at them. I just posted them online, and the posting doesn't have the yellow. It doesn't translate into the thing.
But it
It
still
doesn't-
has your name in there, like Edie, that I messed this up.
It does. I was like,
Okay.
look, all I can do is get it up on the right time at this
Okay,
point.
sorry about
No,
that.
it's not your.
I won't
it's
do
totally-
that again.
Totally not your fault. I just figured, like, let's just let the draft be a draft.
Okay, and there was some Detlef's name, I didn't know what it was, and so.
Yeah, I added Detlef's name before I posted it online.
Okay,
Let me do a,
if you search for Edie, they'll pop up.
yeah, I'm just gonna do a version change here. Version 3. Save. Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the December 16th Select Board meeting with the following changes. Under call to order, I just corrected the spelling of Mary Lou's first name.
Oops, sorry, Mary Lou.
Nope. I'm gonna also,
So Edie, we only have the 16th and 20th of January on the agenda. Can we do that? Can we?
Yeah.
Do other ones as well?
this is the 16th I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Oh, January, you said December.
I'm sorry,
all right.
January.
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
Thank you.
that's what threw me. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for
Yep.
clarifying. I made offline one word because off is too short and stop word. Version not have, okay. There was a question about the time that you noted.
Yeah, I thought it was at
20th.
7:15, and then I don't know when we returned from executive session, so
Okay,
I don't know if anybody else noted the times.
I did not, and we'd have to look at the recording to finish.
Okay.
But so maybe we should just defer this because we're still, once again, don't have all the data we need to actually make the final thing final. See what else is in here? Zoom link. All right, maybe we just make a suggestion that we say at approximately
It's fine.
7:15. And, I don't know,
Patrick, you didn't happen to notice when we came back out of executive
No.
session, did you?
Sorry, I
um,
think approximately is fine now.
Yeah, but that's when we went in, so when we came out.
Approximately 7:30.
yeah, let's put 7:30. So. So I think those are just the minor changes that I would suggest. I don't know think it must have been Silverberg noted that the facilitator for the meeting would be Gretchen. Haverlock. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Several things here,
Yeah, but there's a lot of,
and we'll add the Zoom link later.
yeah, but there was all of these.
I think perhaps I got some of them.
Oh, good,
Done,
all
I
right,
just didn't get all
let me
of
just,
them.
sorry, guys, let me look real quick, social services agency, let's go. Can we, can we scroll up? Oops, that's with me. Over here. Okay, so. Tell me the articles, there we are. Okay, so tell me the articles. Social services. All right, yep, got that one. Advisory articles, whoops. To discuss the issues. Okay, good, I think you got them, recycling containers. Okay, good. Okay, I think it looks like you got them. Yep. Okay, perfect. All right. Sorry for that.
So the motion is to accept as noted at this point.
Yes.
Okay, I'll second.
I already seconded.
We already did, sorry. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So passed. Yes.
So I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of January 20th.
There are a couple of changes that I just want to note real quick.
Additional changes?
Yep, on the
Okay.
20th, yes. So if you go to, it's in the old business section.
So, sorry, just for clarity, then who is updating this now?
I can try to do it. Let me see if I can just find it again.
And some of these are, you know, I put them in as notes. So we can either leave them in there, and then amend them later, but that's why.
All right, I know that I posted them, but I don't know where I have a copy of them. Hang on. Hmm.
Let's see when I sent them.
The problem is I just forwarded dozens of documents to myself.
Okay.
All right.
Is that one for me?
It's the one from Patrick.
Okay, all right, so I amended them and then Patrick sent them. Okay, yeah, so let's look at that one. Did you change them, Patrick, after I sent them back? Because
Yeah.
maybe you did. Okay, so maybe they're okay. So let's just look real quick. I just want to make sure that whatever my notes were. Yeah, maybe if you could open that one.
Let me open the one that I'm gonna modify, because for some reason I couldn't find it before.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go to scroll down, noted that, so it was changed to. I think we can just remove that yellow and take out the brackets,
Okay.
because I think that was my language, I think, based on my notes, but I wasn't sure if that was really what happened. Because, Pete, this is where you noted originally that ARPA didn't work for small towns and that specifically less than $50 million revenue replacement designations, and then I drafted in, it was changed two small towns can use as you saw fit, right? Is that
Well,
the way to, because I
well,
just had, it was changed to, and I don't know if I,
So I
oversimplified.
mean, because larger communities could use it as revenue replacement, right? And they had all kinds of revenue loss, right? Then it was easy for them to spend it as sort of as their general fund, right? Small communities couldn't do that because we didn't have any revenue. So what they did is they put a $50 million floor on revenue replacement, right? And if you had less than $50 million in revenue replacement, you could use it any way you wanted. I don't know, I guess I wasn't very clear about that.
That's okay, so why don't we change
ARPA
it?
didn't work for small towns, specifically less than $50 million revenue replacement designation was changed to,
A floor. So that small towns,
Right, so if you had a lot of revenue replacement, then you have all the reporting that goes along with that, right? And documentation of it, right? But without, because of the $50 million floor, there's no documentation, right?
Okay.
It's just, you just can use it, right? It's really as revenue, right?
okay, so the sentence now reads specifically less than $50 million revenue replacement designation was changed to a floor so that small towns could use it as they see fit.
okay. And then the next one is this yellow down there.
Yeah.
So then there's the section where we were talking about the grant reserve fund and where it started out is the 204,474.29. And we had, Patty gave us those 5 numbers. The note here, and I don't know what the protocol is to leave it in or not, but I just said subsequent to the meeting, I went in, hit the link, and those are the exact numbers that popped up for Halifax.
Okay.
So all I'm doing is just confirming, because Patty gave us those numbers off the books, which is great. Now, I just
And-
happened to see them in the town, in the
Okay,
VLCT.
I think we can just leave it in as a note.
Okay, yeah, we just take the yellow off. If we can put notes in, then that's good. And then there's one other,
Do we need to keep this link provided in the 2020 October 23rd materials noted above?
yes, I would, because there is a link in that document. And it says, how much did your community receive? And it's right in the page. And you just click on it. So if somebody wants to find it, it's easy to find.
I don't know what you're talking about though, with 2022, October 23rd.
This number, because we were using this.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
the link
Okay.
is literally
All right.
in
It's the
here.
VLCT.
It's
document.
right here. You click
Okay.
on that link. and it
Yeah,
goes in.
all right, but but people reading this later aren't gonna know we were looking at,
Oh, we referenced this document up above, but that's okay.
okay, all right. Okay.
But
got
if you want to call it,
Yeah, I think that's fine.
then the last thing, and this one is a difference, there's a variance, so if you scroll down to there. So here where we're talking about the highway department, we were talking about, I had Christopherson provided historical principal and interest costs for vehicle financing from 2023 to 2025, which is a range of 94,000 up to 136. And the impact of high interest rates. And then EDU noted the expenditure was 150K in 2022, but when I went back and looked at the vehicle schedule, it was 96. So I wasn't sure if I got the 150 wrong or what the source of the 150 was.
The source of the 150 is this book here. Can't believe I even remember that, but
Okay,
budget. Total equipment lease here, 65 for FY, the budget was 150.
okay, so in 2022, if you look at the principal and interest, it was,
I'm talking about this number right here, which is the budgeted number for equipment lease, was this.
okay, and
number.
I'm talking actual.
Okay, we're talking about different lines, so we can agree that we disagree.
Okay,
Okay.
but well, I
so
just said that
let's
its
say-
expenditure was
see,
versus the
okay.
budget was, so.
Okay, let's change this to Edwards noted that the budget.
So let me go back to, so that's highway.
So I'll leave this, the actual principal and interest, and I'll leave that note in.
Yes. Because that's what's in the.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, where in the budget did you have, where's, what, I'm just looking to see what we were looking at, because I want
I'm
to
looking
double
at
check it here.
76,605 total. equipment lease
76,005.
Budgeted amount, and
Was 149 and the actual spent. This doesn't have. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look, so there's still a discrepancy. Okay, yeah, put actual,
all right,
I'll talk to Patty about that.
okay.
Yeah. I'll get that sorted out with Patty before we go final on that. All right. And those were my only comments.
Can we approve that with, as noted, or do you wanna wait?
I think we can approve as noted, and if we have to go back and change it, you know, we can always.
So I just want to confirm one thing. So Edie, you had sent me some figures in a spreadsheet,
Yeah,
which I appended.
I
They're gone, so.
So I'll tell you where they are. What are you looking at? They're right here.
yeah.
I'm just looking online. I'm just looking at the public.
Right, and
version.
I mean, I just posted whatever was given to me, and you're right that I remember you seeing an image that probably didn't translate. But the point of me sending that was to get these numbers
Okay,
right there, so I
And-
guess it probably doesn't matter.
And what you had in there, and the reason I changed it to this image is because you only had like half of stuff and it wasn't the whole page that was cut off.
oh,
So you couldn't read it. So all I did was just tidy it up and pop it in there as an image.
Okay, but just
But
as
if we
a,
don't
just as
need
a
it-
note, the images did not transfer when
Okay.
when I cut and pasted and stuck it into the web page, they obviously didn't transfer, because I remember seeing them. And they're not in there.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
So I apologize for not catching that was the case when I posted the minutes, but I just doing my usual cut and paste and fix the heading and call it posted.
Okay,
posted on
so
time.
then in that case, I would say, we should remove this note, see detailed ARPA notes in annex.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, let me find
That's
where that is.
just under, I don't know where, it's just before the grant reserve fund, numbers, breakdowns.
Yeah, that's right here. It's right there.
Hang on, I can't, I gotta get it open again. Okay. It was called the what?
Right here.
Appendix?
Yes, you're right. Let's go to the grant reserve fund, scroll up to those numbers that Patty did. And then right
Okay.
above it, you see, just gonna take out that parenthetical.
Okay.
And then you have R as follows, colon, and then it will go grant reserve fund and everything else.
I need a mouse, obviously.
So I make a motion, we approve the minutes of January 20 select board special meeting as amended.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Okay. So we're on to old business. Sometimes, Mike, have you got anything you wanna hit us with tonight instead of keeping you here all night?
No, I just thought it was something you asked me to be here for, but I can't remember what.
Me either. Sorry.
We,
Yeah.
Let me look at the agenda, because I'm just thinking.
because one of the things, and I don't know if Mike, if this also is helpful, and this is a follow-on to the prior meeting where we were talking about the ARPA funding and, 15,000 going here and there, and then the balance, where the balance went, and part of, I think, the discussion that Patty wasn't a part of when we talked about all of that was how the surplus and deficit, right, fits in with, we had a $40,000 deficit from operations. And so I think Patty wanted to talk a little bit about how that translates in a year-to-year basis, even though the P&L says we have a $60,000 profit. At some point, and I think Patty, you were starting to make a point earlier today, but I wanted to save that for the whole board, and then, you know, to the extent Mike is here, and I don't know that it has any impact on what we decided with the grant reserve money, but I just wanted to get Patty kind of on the record saying what that $40,000 deficit actually means,
Okay,
you know, in a multiple year scenario.
all right, well, let's go through this and then, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, I'm just sort of saying, like, in terms of budget finalization and line item updates, I think,
It's all part of that.
yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I think for the purpose of having Mike here,
Mhm.
my question is, we just voted that we would spend some ARPA money, right, for highway equipment. Is that something we expect will be spent and therefore should be documented in our fiscal year 25 budget? Or is it something we're going to spend here in the current fiscal year, which I'm guessing is FY 24, because I'm getting a little lost in dates.
And that's why part of what I think would be helpful for Patty to talk to this $40,000 deficit, to the extent that deficit relates to highway operations, some of that money could be to fund that and zero out that deficit. So if we could just let Patty talk about that, because they're all connected. It's not like either or.
Okay,
They are all connected, and then there were a number of things. You know, for the highway budget, there were a couple of things I want to make sure that we have that Mike knows about. But I thought if we started, because that, if anything's gonna take time, and then we have to think about that as we're talking about other things, I think if Patty talks about that first, it will.
Well, just to give you a heads up, I'm leaving at 7.
Okay,
I'm not staying around.
nope, that's fair.
Okay,
Okay.
So sorry, just, I'm a little lost in the agenda now. Are we on old business?
we're on old business and I think
we're
we're gonna,
working on budget finalization, but we're sort of talking a little bit about the list of schedules for the town report, right? So this list of schedules includes this, which includes a discussion about a financial variation that we have to understand.
Because we did not have, I don't think we had complete information at our last meeting, so Patty, I think, needs an opportunity to talk about it. Maybe it changes the decision, maybe it doesn't. If it does change the decision, then it does have an impact on the budget.
okay, so can you elucidate for us, tell us what that 40? what
Sure.
Karen's
So
talking about?
Karen and I worked on this one schedule that we have up on the screen. And what I did was, taking into consideration everything that we did down here on the highway budget and the select board budget. Those are budgeted items. So then what we did was we created this spreadsheet of everything else. And by everything else, I mean separating it into two different categories. On the left-hand side over here are revenues and expenses that have an impact on the surplus or deficit that are not budgeted items. Like, we don't budget for school taxes, but we pay them, for example. And then on this side over here on the right, these are revenues and expenses from self-funded accounts, which show up in the P&L, but they are self-funded, self-supported, and they do not have an impact on the town's surplus or deficit, including grants from, say, the ARPA money, the cemetery money when they get their payments and their donations for the restoration. Things like, when the delinquent tax collector receives their penalty, that does not have an impact because it 100% goes to the delinquent tax collector. Zoning payments do not have an impact on the surplus or deficit because zoning goes to the zoning administrator, things like that. So when I took the P and L and I took every other account that is not a budgeted item and I separated it into those two categories, I came up and then I carried over down here, I came up and I carried over the expenses from those other two spreadsheets and revenues. I came up with a deficit of $40,770. Now, a lot of that could be because of the work that we did on Pike and Vaughan Road because of the natural disaster.
Well, this is again for 23.
Right, scratch
This is
that,
23.
right, 23. So from FY 23, we have a $40,000 deficit to deal with.
From operations.
From operations, correct. So if we don't address this issue, because if it was a surplus, we would have people saying, okay, well, what are you gonna do with the surplus? Are you gonna use it to offset taxes, reduce taxes, yada, yada? But we actually have a deficit in FY 23.
Okay.
So we need to figure out what is it that you want to do about this? What do you want to say about it? How do you want to handle it? Because if, I don't know, Edie, if you remember from many years ago, if we don't do something about it, this $40,000 in about 3 years or more is going to turn into about 120, and then we're going to really be in a pickle. And that was, if you remember way back then, that was when we decided to not do, some paving, and we decided to not do this that we had budgeted for to make up for this humongous deficit that had just accumulated.
Because we did.
Nothing about it.
Yeah, we operated on a cash basis and we didn't
So
address.
what happens if FEMA ends up paying for that money that we've done? That's not gonna matter?
So as Karen says, this isn't from that disaster. Right? Because that was like,
Someone just said
I mistakenly said that. I didn't mean it.
it was after July 1st.
Right, so this is
This is
June of 23.
So this was last year's budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what
And I just
you,
wanna point out that this amount that we're talking about is tiny, given the overall budget, so. It's,
What's not that tiny?
It's not
Well,
that tiny.
If we
um,
get 40,000 next year, it's 80,000 the year after that. It's, I mean, so.
And, right, and then come April, I'm out of money.
So I just want to make sure everybody, I don't want to just blitz through it. If everybody agrees, then that's fine. But
that-
when I originally talked to everybody about this exact schedule when we last met, I did not have Patty's sort of background and what that deficit actually meant, because I looked at it and said, okay, but the overall P and L is a positive 60 grand, life is good. But
So,
I didn't have.
Not. Yeah,
and that 60 grand is sitting where?
well, on the right-hand side of the schedule is where you will see that there's about right here, total surplus from self-funded accounts is 100,000, but that is because of some of the grant money that we had received and things.
For other things, right?
And so then if you net it against each other,
The key number, if you scroll up to grants, if you see the 100, and I don't know if you can see, which is easier. If you go up to see where it says that 102, that was ARPA grants. That's the grant reserve fund, I believe. Is that the grant reserve fund
Yes.
5440?
yeah,
So that's in 2023, that was the number that all of our discussions from the prior meeting was based on. And so that's why you
Less
have,
than what we just had a big, long meeting about, though. I mean, that's only 102,000, so where did the extra money come in? I mean, it couldn't possibly have come in during that fiscal year, could it? When did the ARPA money start coming in? 2021 and 2022?
we got one payment kind of early on, and it took a long time to get the second one. But I don't remember the dates.
Okay, anyway.
see, I guess, Patty, the question I have about this is, can we take 40,000 from that 101,000 and use that to cover the deficit?
it would come out of the ARPA. That,
Why would it come out of the ARPA?
Well, because you can't take it out of, cemetery. And you can't take it out of, office equipment fund, record restoration, you can't take it out of the opioid. Or the delinquent tax penalty, this side is self-funded accounts that don't have an effect on this side. Which is town. Generated things.
So this is 2023. Karen, with all the tools you've created for us, what does it look like for 2024?
Well, we decided not to use those tools because we wanted to do all the budgeting in this format, and then I have to drop it into that tool to
Okay.
play it out, but this number would change because. What I'm doing right now, the number to Edie's point, we had 136,000 and change, and now we're showing the 102, so I just want to see what that difference is.
Yeah, so I get that if you're running a $40,000 a year.
So that's a
deficit,
$33,000 change, and I don't know if that would account for some of the expenditures.
So this whole deficit is from the highway?
No, probably not.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but usually what happens is the surplus is in the select board account and it ends up going and covering the highway because we can't use highway monies for the rest of it, right?
So it's hard to go,
So on another words, what do you do when you're out of money?
that's the,
Well,
You take care of me.
there's two things. You either move money from a pot that has money to a pot that doesn't have money, or you borrow money. That's kind
So
of the
what I'm
only,
getting at is the maintenance account's gonna be out of money before June of this year. So what do we do? When we're out of money, do we just stop functioning or like what do we do?
right, but
Or
those
what
are,
do
those
I
are your
do?
only two options. If you're out of money, you can either take money from somewhere else that has it,
Yeah,
Or
but
you
we
can
rob
borrow.
people, every count is like nickel and dime so bad that it's like there's nowhere to take money from usually.
so, well, if there's no money, nowhere to take money from, then we have to borrow. That's the only option. There's really nowhere else for us to,
Well, that's something that might wanna be said at town meeting when everybody nickel and dimes these budgets so bad.
So it feels like, I mean, this conversation about do we have a surplus or deficit? We did not have at the start of the conversation with budget season because we didn't have these numbers.
correct.
We now know that we had a deficit. And normally we would have to put money in the budget to cover the deficit from last year and ask the taxpayer for 40,000 extra dollars, 41, whatever it is here. And put that into our budget, or we have to decide if the whatever dollar amount, which I'm worried about because of this other number being $30,000 lower than we thought. Do we take and say that our ARPA money will be used to cover this deficit, and then kind of what does that mean? That means we take money from the grant fund, which we had, the recent balance of 136, and we just throw it back into the general fund and say, we're good? I mean,
Well, I mean, we just, on Saturday, we had a meeting about ARPA and we didn't mention that, right? So.
no, so we'd have to change that.
We'd have.
Right, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because this isn't just sort of simple, oh, let's keep going, and I apologize for creating what might be a big complication, but as I was looking at things.
I mean, does it make sense just to, put a $40,000 line item in the 25 budget to cover it?
You could always wait and see if there ends up being a surplus at the end of
24.
24. Because of the FEMA funds, but
That's gonna be hopeful thinking.
I mean,
Look at some of the counts that they're triple over budget because the stuff's gone up so bad.
Yeah,
Look at cutting edges,
it's
look at-
unlikely we'll have, maybe,
No, I'm saying,
Being realistic.
conservatively, if we say, we put a line item in the budget, $40,000 for 2023 deficit. It's just part of the raise and appropriate.
Well, yes, but I guess, and then sort of there's two things. I think the first thing is, and I completely agree with Evie and Patty, we have to be able to get from the 102,685, right, in account 5440 to the 136,056. Right, which is the number that we said we had this much in
Right.
ARPA funds, and we spent this, and it was just straight arithmetic, and we ended up with 136, so.
Cause my concern is that we moved this 40,000 and then we say, okay, the other whatever amount left is gonna be used for some sort of equipment, which is what, what we said on Saturday. And then suddenly we've spent the money twice.
Right,
Cause
My- my
that doesn't work.
My guess is that we received ARPA money after June 30th of 23. Which I'm
can
certain,
you see what the dates are when it came in?
I'm opening up right now.
Because when I went, I was trying, they didn't have the dates when I said, that I went back and I went to that link, and these numbers were back with BLCT and back to the state, but they didn't have any dates.
I think what I recall is August.
Because that would account for quite a bit of it if this last 35,646 didn't come in.
Until FY 24.
So if we could find those dates, that's
one
kind of
moment.
the first step.
I still maintain, even though it's an unpopular view, that this is a very small amount in a $3 million budget.
Well, it's a
So-
couple of percent, right?
No, not even, it's like 1.3%. So I would agree with you. I think we should just pop it into the next year's budget and, and consider it a pretty good year for coming in right around budget. I mean, I think if you can keep yourself to under, 1.5% of your total, that's not
That's
too bad.
given how much of a crystal ball we need to make this work. I agree with you. It's hard to call it any closer than that.
And I wouldn't want, people to get the wrong impression that because there's a $40,000 deficit, we did something wrong.
Right,
Okay.
no,
I
for
don't
sure.
think that's what we're saying.
No, no,
And I don't think that that the amount is material enough to, for example, borrow to cover it. Or for that matter, personally, I don't think we should use the ARPA money. I think we should leave the ARPA money alone. We've made those decisions, and I think this is something that we can put into the FY 25 budget. And as Patty said, it may turn out that we don't need it. But if we have it in there, then it's good insurance.
Well, so what we were saying earlier is that there was a $40,000 deficit, but it sounded like it was $40,000 every year. Right, and that's why after 3 years, it was $120,000, and then that was starting to hurt. Is that an accurate assessment?
that's what I understood Patty to say, but I'll let Patty.
Yes,
Right, so I don't think that's the situation that we're in here, but
Right, well,
again,
it feels like to this point, right, that a good business practice would be when we're over and have a small surplus, that we add a line item that says this much was the surplus from
Mhm.
fiscal year 2023. We're being very transparent about, this was a deficit. We had a deficit. Here's the amount. We're now asking you to pay for the deficit so that we don't have to borrow money. So I'm cool with us adding a line item for
So all right, so let's, Patty, if you could click on the select board tab and scroll right to the bottom of the select board tab. The select,
I know, I can't, never mind. Select board tab,
yep, and then scroll all the way down to the bottom roundabout row 113 to row 117.
okay. Oh. Okay,
So what I did, where, see on the column K, where it says proposed, we've got the numbers from the articles, we've got the year-on-year budget variance, right, from 24 to 25. Yes, 24 to 25, right? So that's just the difference between cell K114 and cell H114, right? Which is the all-in budget number. It's the difference between 1,884,864 versus budget 2024 of 1,679,319. And the difference, surplus deficit, that was popped up from the prior year. So that's prior to the 24 budget. So the question is, where does that go? That 40, where does that line item go? Presumably that's where it goes, just because of the timing when we get our financials
Yeah.
and
we're
when
always
we
a
have
year behind.
information,
Mm.
right? It feels like it's in the wrong year, but it isn't based on information flow. And
Right.
because we have the fiscal year that towns have.
I mean, it's just sort of the nature of the beast, right?
But-
We don't know whether we have a surplus or a deficit till long after the books.
But isn't our final all-in budget number, if we are now saying we're going to add $40,000?
It's gotta go up.
It's gotta go, it either has to go above that line, or we just do a budget plus, plus deficit coverage or something, so that 18.
So where I think as a practical matter is maybe where it goes and is in the raise and appropriate.
Okay.
And so what I would suggest Patty do,
Yeah, I was gonna say in the income, which I think is similar to what you're saying.
either one, yeah, it could go in income or it can go, I was gonna stick it in raise and appropriate,
What line
Um,
is that? Sorry, I'm just.
111. But it's not an income, right? So it'd be so here we have the surplus and deficits and negative, and then, so we have to make sure we put it in as a positive versus a negative. So,
Yes.
so do you want it to go in as an income? So now we're gonna have, let's try this, Patty,
Hmm.
if we take row 110, do you want me to do it? Maybe I can, maybe it's easier for me to show
Feel free.
real quick. Do you have a, right, so you don't have do you have, can I plug my mouse in there?
You
Sorry.
can take this.
So
No, that's not the problem. I just can't do it without a mouse.
Patty, I'm just curious, so if we do this, and we're gonna have this 40,000 that's coming from the FY 25 budget into the treasury, right?
Mhm.
So how would you book that?
I wouldn't, it would just come in tax revenue.
Tax revenue?
Yep.
So we can call this fund. Let's stick it here, account description. The problem is it's not fund. In this case. And then here. This would be minus. That number. Right?
Which makes it positive,
Which makes it positive.
but that,
This is row 105, which is this 422. That's our municipal subtotal. Then we have all this stuff here. So that is the sum of that. Now this has to be 110. That now changes it to that number. I'm gonna change all of these just so that we don't have to. Okay. So presumably that changed. This will then, everything else should, that's the highway, so now that's 1844. What was our all-in budget beforehand? Because I haven't changed it, so hold on, let me look, I got it up here. So why didn't that change our
Yeah.
budget?
Probably because the formula isn't pulling that new line that you just put in.
From 111 to 112. It should be 331. That's 104.
It's on one, it's on one
It's on
ten.
110.
Right, it's on 110, so this is 106 through 110, right?
30. Yeah,
Aha, it didn't,
oh, yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
automatically
yeah.
recalc, sorry. Sorry, let me
So
hit,
where are we now with the
So
raise and
let me
appropriate?
so now. Our year-on-year budget variance has changed.
Why did the whole budget go down?
Yeah, the whole thing went down, which is weird.
Well, it should have gone down because,
Should have gone up because we added $40,000, so it should have gone up from whatever we had originally.
so this is the money that comes in. So let's do this, make sure this happens again. So this is paid by the Ames Fund. That comes from the Highway Department from the other tab, so that's coming from here. This is raise and appropriate highway, so that should be raise and appropriate highway. That's 106.
You're at
1064133, is that the right number? Nope, that's 1076.
You're 1 year over. You gotta go to the right, Karen. You're on budget FY 2024 right there.
Where do you want me to be?
Go to the right because that's budget FY 24, not 25. Go over to L
Oh,
or M or
Oh,
something.
oh, sorry, you're right. Sorry,
Just from
can't see what
here.
I'm doing here.
Yep.
Whoops.
Okay, so it's
So
M,
now that's 1512,
still not the same, is it?
and why is
Yeah,
it that not the
151,
same?
663.
That, oh, yes, it is, 1512663. That's
Okay.
that's the right number, 1552663. That's from the highway tab, raise and appropriate highway. It links there, so now the combination of raise and appropriate highway,
No, because you've got the net, doesn't that?
this is not
total-
netting out right.
Yeah, no, you gotta go to get 105, because that's the municipal subtotal. Somehow it's gotta be in there.
The municipal subtotal. Hold on, let me, this is, can you
Municipal-
make this smaller so we can see, Patty, more of the screen, because there's, how do I make this,
Control minus might work.
I don't want to screw this up. All right, so municipal total right now is
Is we're expecting we need about 422,000.
correct,
23,000. Then the income against expenses is 91. Somehow
something's not netting properly,
so that fund surplus deficit, we still need to raise and appropriate.
is right
So-
here.
Yeah, but we
That's
need,
what's
we need it to,
showing
we
up
need,
as income.
the other stuff, yeah, the other stuff in that is showing.
So
up
this
as
is in the wrong
income.
spot. Okay,
Yeah,
It needs to be in.
that's what
an
I thought.
Expense or
That's-
not an
okay.
income.
So then we can put it,
just like on
can't we put it
113.
here? Hold on, this is where I wanted to put it. Let's do it here. Let's see how this works. Take this. Oops. Nope, I don't want to do that. Okay, so now this goes away. Hold on, bear with me. Right, so that is 109. Okay, does that look right? Then now this becomes 110 through 112, so that becomes. This is 110 to 111, so this is gonna be. 10 to 112.
How that total net municipal can't, that's total net municipal income,
So these are our expenses, 422.
yeah,
We have net municipal income,
yeah. Let's make sure that that cell says income,
right here.
B 110, because. So I would say right now we'd be looking at something like 370,000 plus the 1.5 million. Plus the 40,000, and those three things together would be what we need to raise and appropriate.
So shouldn't this be here? Shouldn't we have, if we have, these are all our municipal expenses, right?
Yep,
That's all that stuff.
yep,
So then this should be, would this be net municipal? Right?
Yep.
So wouldn't this equal this?
Yep.
Plus this? Right?
minus, right?
Municipal, sorry, yes, yes, thank you.
Okay, now we can add,
Now here, this
that
becomes,
looks right, 1.9.
okay. So let's just make sure we have, so now this is 110. Nope, so this now should be
Should be
111.
12.
It should be 111, 12, and 13, right?
Yeah.
So that is gonna be. That is gonna be. That. 111 to 113, this is gonna be. 111 to 113. All right, so I'm gonna shade this for the moment. And then we're gonna have. All right, let me hit save here. Okay. So now if we have raise and appropriate from the highway department.
Yep.
This now, this 1,000,009, is this the new raise and appropriate number?
Sure feels like it.
Was,
It was 1.8
what was
before.
it last year, Patty? Because then, is it correspond, does this 1,001,350
Yeah,
look like the raise and appropriate from last year?
most likely.
Is there a way to check?
It's right, it's in the spreadsheet.
Well, there's the spreadsheet that we've monkeyed with, and there's like what the real number is, so I just wanna prove out.
So this document last year had proposed FY 24 of 1,250,626, but remember that we added.
Added 100 grand, so that's perfect,
Correct.
okay, perfect. That is sweet, okay,
Paperwork.
well done, okay. So that foots back, so then I think we can be confident that. That 1,000,009 is now the new number.
So, and we had that, the 328 in articles there. And that's a zero over here.
Right, and so that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, that's because last year, everything had to be split out and
Okay.
each thing had to be voted on. We want to make a reserve fund, here's how.
We included it in the line items, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right,
So-
I'm with you.
So what we're comparing, when we compare this stuff from year over year, is the 1.679 to the one,
All right.
one,
I'm with you.
that's why it's 14.67%. Okay, so we've dealt with our $40,000 deficit from FY '23 by adding it to the raise and appropriate amount here. So then the next question still is, with the 2 minutes that Mike has, are we going to take any of that ARPA money that we designated and put it into this budget
For Mike.
for Mike, or are we going to spend it this year? In this fiscal year?
So the funds, assuming we get the right calculation from where we're starting for, which I'm surprised we don't have, the number that we have that we were going, what was the number that we were giving into the highway budget? Was it the 136,056? Because we don't have in the note, now that I'm looking at it, we don't have in the minutes that we said that was gonna go to,
No, you took out 45,600.
oh, yeah, so it's down
Right.
here, so
it's
that
like
means,
90,000, right?
and did the number end up in,
Yes, it's right here, $90,456.46.
sorry, where is it?
That's $90,456.46 was the balance of the ARPA funds as we estimated it.
Right. So,
All right, so we have that amount, so that 90 then presumably needs to go into the highway budget, right?
If we're planning not to spend it this fiscal year, yes.
well,
Or for this fiscal year, and Mike,
well,
is, I think, rightly concerned that-
ARPA being what it is, I think the sooner we spend it, the better off we're gonna be.
As long as we can just justify that what we're doing is spending it for long-term needs, which is why we said equipment.
Right.
right,
You know, it's like if it's buying more gravel, then that feels, you know,
Yeah.
not like the intended spirit.
So what I'm getting at is we talked about, Mike had mentioned a loader backhoe, right, taking pressure off the excavator, right? That would be a used piece of equipment, be a nice used piece of equipment, but it'd be a used piece of equipment. That you're not gonna order, that you're not gonna wait a year for, that you're
That
gonna
just
go.
we-
Can
It
we
just
buy
shows
it,
up
can
and
we
it's
buy
not-
it by June 30th and pay for it by
Well,
June
with like
30th?
90 grand, you're gonna have to buy a used one.
Right,
yeah,
You
for
ain't
sure.
getting- yeah.
Yeah,
but
we weren't talking.
And the only other thing is they make some box blade things that you can pull behind the tractor and the loader. They're like $5 a piece. Is this designated strictly for a backhoe or?
No.
Those things are like $5 a piece and. So, I mean, in my opinion, if you could spend 80 grand on a backhoe and have 2 of them things that go around for mud season would be. A help too, but that's just. An idea.
I think, we could. I mean, I'm more than willing to entertain, that kind of thing, right? I mean, the idea was a long-term investment, right? That's what we're trying to do with the ARPA money, right? All those things sound like long-term investments to me. So, I think it depends on what,
I mean, I could call, once the weather finally has a day or two that cooperates, I could call around and just see what people have for used stuff and see the availability.
Right. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going up all the time, right? Auctions and all that, right? There's all.
Yeah, but the
it's all
easiest
over
thing
the
would
place.
be probably just call a dealership and
Yeah, if they've got something that's,
use with some. hours.
Used and still has some kind of a warranty attached to it because it comes from a dealer, you mean?
Well, dealers are, it's the convenience you're paying for with a dealer. They have it, they.
So we don't think we're gonna have any problem spending our $90,000 on equipment in the current fiscal year before June
In fiscal
30th.
24.
I
I don't think so, not for,
I don't think so. I think you could find something on a lot somewhere. Or at an auction you could just buy, right? I don't think it's an issue at all.
Okay.
Can we
so-
do that? I don't know about
So-
the details of the purchasing policy, but does this
good
amount
question.
take us into
It
bidding
does.
or anything?
Yeah, we would need to follow purchasing policy. All I'm trying to get to right now is not like, let's make a decision on exactly what we're buying, but do we need to add to the line item of the existing budget that we're trying to finalize? It sounds like we're intending to spend it in this fiscal year, so the answer to that question is we don't need to put anything in the budget
Right.
for
25.
25.
Yeah, but but that's the right question. I just don't know what the paper trail is to get it from the account that it's in now, the 90,456.46, assuming that's the right number, once we figure out this 33,000, right?
Yeah.
Because we just backed into that 90,000, right, off of the 136, off of the where we thought we started. So that 90,000 I would put in brackets because we have to fix this 33,000 number. So,
Yeah.
so let's assume it's 60, worst case it's 60.
You know, yeah, I'm lost. I thought we documented pretty well what we spent.
We did until we saw this that had grants up there of 102. That's where the ARPA money was in account 5440. And that number is 33,000 less than what we started, what we thought we were talking
If the
about.
last payment on that list was after July,
Then
or
that would,
after July first.
then that would explain a lot of it.
Yeah, then that's probably,
Well, I
So-
mean, I think we made a deposit on the Pike Road project. Right, didn't we? I
Yeah,
think-
because we definitely need to,
Deposit?
Didn't we have to pay it?
They
That's-
on a deposit, but we ain't paid it.
Okay.
so we
Alright,
still
so-
have that cash.
And, you know, there's still, you know, the FEMA stuff is still out there as far as I know. I don't think we've gotten a check for any FEMA, have we, Patty? Right, so,
And then there should be that grant that Patty emailed in a couple weeks ago. The grant from aid, that should have been, that should be 31,000 coming in.
right, so it
Do you
doesn't
see
surprise
pictures
me.
on that? Do you have any pictures? Photos?
When the original does. And then there's $8,000 that we just paid out to Wyndham Regional that we'll be getting back.
Right, so it doesn't surprise me at all that 102 doesn't match up with.
Just
with-
because of the timeline.
Yeah, it's just the ins and outs.
I just worry, before we go to town meeting, I just want every penny lined up and I don't want any gaps floating around. So we just need to, we're gonna have to do a reconciliation. The cash reconciliation so that we know the money that we're gonna give to the highway department, is it 90, is it 60? Because that's gonna change how Mike's
Are you
able.
doing this to all the ARPA people or just the highway?
what do you mean, are
Like
doing
the
what?
fire department, the historical society, the community club?
No, we gave them relatively small numbers and we're.
We're focusing on the highway department
So-
with the ARPA money.
Right, so.
That's the
so
biggest number.
We just gave them numbers and then what's the balance, which is the majority of it is going to the highway department. We're just trying to figure out what the balance is.
So when you guys actually have a real number, let me know and then I can figure out. If you can even find a used backhoe that's worth anything for $60,000.
It's, I'm very confident that when we do the reconciliation, the ARPA numbers that we're using are the right numbers, right? I mean, it's not reflected here because there's other ins and outs, right? But if, you know, the ARPA funds are the ARPA funds. We know what we got, we know what we spent. So it's, you know, whether, you know, kind of where it is a different question, but you know, the accounting is actually pretty straightforward as far as I could see.
But, and for the purposes, again. for the
Patty, do you
purpose of
agree that
tonight's
that getting that reconciliation should be straightforward?
Yes, I will work on that.
Okay,
Okay, so the purpose of creating the budget for the coming fiscal year, we're not gonna put any ARPA of the money that we're moving from the grant reserve fund. That was originally ARPA funding is not gonna be part of the calculations for the budget spreadsheets.
Correct.
What other budget spreadsheet items do we have to address? And-
Okay, so-
And to be respectful of Mike, thank
yeah,
you very much for coming.
can we go to the highway tab real quick? Because as we kind of went through this and I'm highly sensitive to everybody's time. If we go to the highway tab, let's go all the way up. Because I don't want to have to do this by myself without your guidance, because this is how things take forever. And you know what, Patty, let me drive for a minute. If you don't mind.
I do not mind at all.
Right
ahead.
So. I want to get rid of all the yellow stuff. So this miscellaneous scrap metal, Patty,
Yes.
we're gonna move this below account 6550. Which is down here,
Okay.
okay? Problem is, when we move that out. Where'd it go? When we get rid of that, what I didn't know what to do mechanically is what do I do with these? That's gonna change how everything foots at the bottom. So Patty, you and I are gonna have to go back and figure that out.
Is it really that important to move it?
Well, that's another question.
I mean, it's such a small little amount.
I would presume that we would leave it here. It's a revenue I mean, it's a revenue item, right? Or is it an expense item?
It's a
Well,
revenue.
It's both.
It's a wash item.
It's a wash?
It washes.
Well-
Okay, then I think we need to leave it here.
I'm good with that.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
No.
Because I think moving it below changes how everything calculates, and it just is gonna get wonky. All right, so I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna change this. I'm going to say this is an income slash expense. It's a better word than wash. I guess we can change it another time. Income expense. I'm going to say income expense net. Nets to this amount, okay? Is that correct?
Yes, it nets to zero. That's
Nets
correct.
to zero, okay. So let me get rid of that now. Hit save. I'm not sure where this is saving, Patty. All right, then we scroll here. Now the radio repeater, so Mike, this 7,000. I just want to make sure that that's the right number, right? That we were talking about the radio repeater.
We had paperwork on with it on the budget meeting.
Yeah, was it-
60, high 6,000.
Right, because I didn't think that number was right. So
But I think we added.
Yeah, I
to
think
make
we
it
rounded up.
7,000.
we rounded up, okay.
I think we rounded up because that quote is gonna be timed out, right, by the time we get
Okay.
around to doing that, so.
So I'm just gonna say, just say received. Oops. Received quote. Okay,
That was last summer.
summer 23,
24.
24? No,
23.
23.
We're now. in
We didn't
24.
get to summer 24 yet.
Is it gonna come? Does anybody know?
Is it ready? Okay, then we had a conversation about all these different. We had the resurfacing fund. And here we're saying. We've got it, we have a voted article,
Right, but now
and
we're
then there
putting
was
them
the
back
question,
here.
we had 200 in here. I just want to make sure everything is lining up the way it's supposed to, because we have the resurfacing fund. Then we have the equipment reserve fund. There's nothing in it for 25, and then the question here is. Should this come out, and this is discussed as a town meeting article, so. And the reason I'm being so fussy about this, and I apologize for being fussy, this is what we're gonna use for pages 10 to 16 in the town meeting book.
Yeah,
So
So-
if we have any
so-
wacky things that are hanging around, we have to
So-
make them go away or resolve them.
yeah, so as I understand it, we are not trying to create any additional reserve funds this year. Is that accurate?
It's my understanding.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay,
So-
So you cut the blacktop 100,000 already?
we did, unfortunately. Yep.
Is what it is?
Yep, we did.
Cause that much less people are gonna have to drive.
Yep, I think we talked about, what did we talk about with the,
well, we had a long discussion about how expensive it is and, you know, if we can afford to do that much every year
and the budget's already going up about the same
Already-
Well,
15%,
the problem,
yeah.
not to make this another budget meeting again, but the problem is you got 50-something miles of dirt and the hours that the employees are putting in between winter maintenance and then now mud seasons that are happening 6 times in a winter. You're killing your budgets, overtime, material with these dirt roads, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, but
I think we discussed the fact that there is a little bit in the reserve fund this year. And we are looking at a pretty steep hike after a pretty steep hike last year. It's almost as much, so.
Do what you gotta do, but I'm just saying it's,
and you're talking about, this is,
you're
wait,
not getting very far with $200,000.
right, so what's that account number? I just want to just double check real quick, 7460, it should be in the minutes from the prior meeting. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly what I thought we said.
Oh, I'm not here to make more discussion, I was just asking.
No, but it's an important point that you're making. Okay, it's not that one. And then I'll have it. Doesn't look like I have it at my fingertips, probably buried in my notes.
What is in the notes field here? 24 voted article below 300.
Sorry, let's get over here. So down here,
Okay, so we didn't document the conversation there, and if I was the one doing minutes that day, I don't know how much of the conversation that I captured.
okay, so what
But
would,
it was not a rash decision, is my.
no, that's why I wanted to at least look in,
I wouldn't worry about it, I'd just do what we gotta do here.
Okay,
okay, so let me just see if I have it, because I was 7460. Yeah, see, I don't have it either, because I had 7460 budget and we said 300,000 add to aid and appropriate. And then,
I think we were just cognizant that,
we were looking for
already
places to cut.
yeah,
Laid out.
I think that's what happened.
way over $100,000 in increases, and we're just trying to
Yeah.
find a way to,
That was one of
To
the few
mitigate.
places that we felt was
You know.
a somewhat flexible item
I mean, it's one
that
thing,
would make a dent in the,
it's one thing not to be able to pave, it's quite another not to be able to fix a muddle.
Right,
So.
right.
That's kind of how we ended up there, it's just.
So how do we change, what do you want to change in this?
Well understood.
Look at the overtime. Continues.
What do you want to change this to? Because that doesn't reflect that 200,000.
I think I would just put, after careful consideration, we cut it from 300,000 to 200,000 during our budget meeting that we cut it. Right, I mean, we didn't have very many places that we thought we could make a sizable dent, and we're funding equipment purchases, we're covering the salary increases and the, and that, right, I think it was largely, we said equipment costs, because we have lots of equipment needs that happen to fall in this fiscal year. I mean, we still don't have in this budget that we need to buy an excavator. Right, it's not been
Yeah,
budgeted.
you're already, what, 600,000 more than last year, and you don't even have the excavator in there? and
We're
you've
gonna
got
have- we
100
have
grand
to-
Out of the blacktop.
We have to vote to buy the excavator by Australian ballot if we
Cause you're
wanna,
doing over 5-year lease.
yeah, so we're,
So the only problem with that is next year you got a loader, and the year after that, you got a grader and a truck.
right,
we're
all
gonna
I
have
can
If you
do is,
start doing 10-year leases on all this stuff, you're just gonna bury yourself in leases.
Well, what part of, I think what we're gonna need to do at town meeting, and that's why we wanna have this equipment schedule, right? So we've got this thing, right? So we're gonna wanna make sure that this equipment schedule is done properly. And then for our vehicle finance, right now, we just have the equipment that we have, and we're gonna have to add rows, I think, in the years that we think we're getting stuff.
Absolutely.
That's what this doesn't have, right? So that when we're in town meeting, we can say, okay, in 26, we're gonna buy this and we're gonna try, and we can make it different colors, right? So we'll have this and then we'll have the sort of future forecast, right? So this is the actual, right? Total, this is total principal and interest.
Right, and part of the planning here is, we're trying to go to 7 years on the trucks, we're trying to buy newer equipment, right? We're trying to do things, to not push it so hard, to try to drive the maintenance costs down and extend the life of this stuff over time, right? So, it's,
Did you-
but it's a rock and a hard place right now because we're trying to catch up with, with stuff that's, it's hurting, it's tired, the excavator's tired.
So ultimately, what we're gonna have to do, and I don't know, Pete, do you want me to sit down with you or with Mike? Because before Friday, we have to, definitely before February 5th, because we're going to print. Friday is the kind of the last day that we can make changes to this stuff. At some point, presumably, we're gonna have to have a select board meeting that says, all right, this is the final thing. We've, done all these
So
bits and
in
pieces.
terms of talking about equipment financing plan going forward.
Yeah, like when are we gonna, what year are we gonna put the excavator in? When are we gonna, like, what's the to Mike's point, we have a ton of stuff that we're still gonna
I
need.
think it's a critical thing. I'm happy,
When are we gonna put it in there?
I'm happy to do that with you whenever you want to do it. If Mike wants to participate, that'd be great, right? Because it gives a better feel for this equipment than I do, right? The current
What do you
status.
think,
of it,
Mike?
The
so.
only day that possibly would work for me would be Thursday.
Thursday, like the after tomorrow, Thursday?
You said I'd be done before Friday, right?
Ideally,
'Cause Friday would be-
ideally, yes, because then we're putting all the schedules together to create the book. So if I look at
Thursday,
uh,
like mid to late morning.
I have a 3 o'clock meeting. A personal meeting, so I could do, earlier is definitely gonna be better for me, but if you've got, guys have other stuff, I could do it like around lunchtime or something.
9, 10, 11 o'clock would be good for me.
That works for me. How about you,
So the
Pete?
two-
Let's see here. Number 23. See there. Yeah, Thursday's fine.
What time did you say, Mike?
Whatever time you guys want, just let me know.
About 9 o'clock.
9 a.m. is great for me.
Here?
Yes.
Yeah, here's good.
Y'all set with me?
Yes, sir.
Say what?
Thank you, Mike.
Anyway,
Right.
Thank you. Good night.
I think. I think that. That's a big part of our conversation at town meeting. So that's that. So now let's go back to. Patty, this first surfacing spot here, did we have anything in there for 24 right here?
No, because it was a voted article for 300,000.
Okay. So that's gonna be 0. And that's not gonna be yellow. Okay, and then, all right, then that. Oh, I think these notes, discussion pending regarding making this account a line item for all equipment principal, I think that's exactly what we did, right?
Yeah.
So I can delete this note?
Yeah.
Delete that note.
check the schedule, I suppose.
So for proposed, let's see, truck financing and interest, what, 117,951 for 25.
25, there's 136048 in the schedule.
117,951
Yeah.
is there, hold on.
That's principal.
Highway is 117,951, so that's good, principal, and then interest should be 18,09785.
Yeah.
And we're showing 18,098, whatever, perfect,
Okay.
okay, so
That's
that's
what we did.
good, and so over here, we've got based on equipment finance schedule for FY 25, which is true, okay, so that's good. All right, so then that, I think, is it. Scott Fund, all right, now to the Scott Fund.
That fund comes out of the highway budget.
So now this, right, so this says, should this be deleted? So it's out of it was in the budget in 24, so we have to leave this line item here
Right,
For the highway?
until it's phased out.
until it's phased out. For right now, it's 0. We can't pull it out because then we have no prior. Right?
Well, it's just moving from highway to select board, but
Yeah, that's fine, but in the highway budget, right, so that's fine, but so in the other, when we go to select board, it should be 0 in select board for 24 and 14 for select board in 25. Right, so this would be. We're not gonna delete the line item because it
Well,
does
we'll
move
say-
back and forth. So we'll say, amount.
what was the
Used,
history of what?
If you delete the line item, then the historical.
then you lose the history, and
Right,
it's,
can't-
yeah,
Oh, well, I thought we weren't deleting anything, we're just
Right,
hiding.
no, we're not, we're just making it 0 going forward.
but the
on this
book,
page,
the
this
book
one.
has 3 years of activity,
Yeah.
and so I wanna have the note here that says amount used in select board.
Got it.
Put in FY 25.
Okay. This was the article that was
Resurfacing.
24, so now we've got this resurfacing article, what are we doing with that?
Well, there was not an article.
No,
There's no
this year.
article,
That was just FY 24.
so that was just
article.
FY 24,
Yeah,
okay,
So you can get rid of that.
okay, well, it can stay there, that's fine. I'll make it green, I guess, we might wanna change all these colors, resurfacing article. Right, and then this is gonna be 0.
We want to just refer to the line item
Oops.
that it is.
Whoops, that's not zero. Wait a minute. So, right, and that is correct. So the balance, right, because there's nothing in the budget here. So so I just want to make sure these put properly. Patty?
There's
It's
gonna be-
fine, the blue column is okay.
So now we're down to the raise and appropriate the balance, is that number, because this number wasn't there a second ago. It was sort of a missing,
The raise and appropriate is column I. And the balance is just the difference between the two.
right, but if I do the math, right, so that it's the same, that's minus 300, that didn't change. Because 81's not in here, so this should be minus L81, right? See, that's,
Yep. All
Right.
four of those.
whoops. All right, so now minus L.
I'm sorry, what are
So here-
lines K and L all about?
So let me delete this. So this is why we have to make sure that we don't use, like, add a number, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus. Because when you add things, stuff gets a little wonky. So raise and appropriate highway should be subtotal highway plus, and in this case, it was 73 and 43. So
No, my bigger question was like, the
that's,
balance plus and minus that you just took. Now that the 300,000 isn't in there, I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, it was sort of like it's a reserve.
it just
yeah.
means this balance is screwy, because that would have been a negative balance.
Okay.
The arithmetic isn't, this is not,
So the
doesn't
balance,
include this number, because it wasn't
typically-
there.
We typically do not put column K and L in the town report.
okay, that's what I was.
Right,
trying
well,
to figure out,
column
what-
K is really nothing.
It is,
That was, I can hide that.
right, so we typically don't put K and L in, we hide those, K and L. That is just basically a column that Mike likes to use. So he.
To
can
see where he is?
Where he is in his budget.
Okay,
So K and L can be hidden. There you
Okay.
go.
okay, thank you.
Okay,
All right,
all right. So then here we had this excavator replacement, which I think is just a random note that I think we take out.
well, so that kind of circles back to one of the other agenda items here, which is, the article listings. If we are going to put an article into the current town meeting event, we needed to check up on the bond with the bond attorney. Did we hear anything from them? You were gonna check on them.
Okay, I didn't.
Okay, so we can't put it in. End of story. We're too late. The issue is that we need to find out what the protocol and the process is. And we need to find out what the purchasing or what the financing options are. If the bond attorney is simply gonna say, if you're gonna talk to me, you're gonna use me, and we're gonna get a bond, then we can say, okay, thank you. Now we just need to know what we have to do to warn a separate article. But I talked to Patty today about putting that into the August primary meeting by warning a special select board meeting to have an Australian ballot to fund an excavator. And I just think we need to tell people when we're discussing the budget that we're also expecting this additional meeting and request for funding.
And if you say that at town meeting, that would be really great for the people to hear.
Yeah,
That,
because
you know,
like
look
we're not,
forward
we're
to
trying to,
August.
yes, we're trying to let you know all of our expenses, but we did not have this ready to go for this budget meeting, for this town meeting. But we will have to do it as a special meeting with an Australian ballot vote to add that piece of equipment.
And you would probably talk about that at the very end under other.
I think that's all fine. The one thing I will say is that depending on the financing, it may be advisable to borrow more than just this amount that we need for the excavator. Possibly retire some of that higher cost debt that we have, like for the last truck, and use the municipal bond money to pay that off. I mean,
That
that's,
would be,
that's if we can, of course, like, depending on the contract we have with the bank and everything. You know,
So I think we should say minimally, we will be looking to fund an excavator. And again, when we get to that point and we have that conversation, maybe we talk about getting a loader at the same time.
yeah, well, that's the thing, like, we don't have in this equipment schedule any of those additional pieces of equipment.
right, we're gonna do that on Thursday.
So,
Okay,
That's what we just
All right,
agreed we do
but there-
Thursday.
but-
So for this, what
Yep.
this should be, discuss at town meeting, that it might be made, let's say, muni bond, and also reduce higher priced equipment at, let's just say new vehicle, and then we'll,
I mean, the only thing I'll say about that is that it's, you know, the excavator's kind of on its last legs, and we're sort of deferring, making a decision on it until August, and it's probably gonna take months, if not a year, to get a new one.
right, but
Okay,
isn't that
so-
why we're getting the backhoes? To
Well,
try and
well, the
take some
backhoe
of the
can,
pressure off the
it
excavator.
can take some of the pressure off, but if it's like, you can't do without it, right? If it breaks, you gotta fix it. Right, you got to, right, cause that little backhoe can't do what that excavator
stuff,
can do.
right.
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 The idea is to just reduce the number of hours you're putting on it going forward, right, even the new one, right? Cause those are expensive hours, right? Backhoe hours are cheap hours, relatively speaking, so.
if we had an emergency need, we could schedule that special select board meeting in
Eh.
whatever time it took to set up another election,
Okay.
right? Because it would have to be another, if it's more than 5 years, we have to do it on Australian ballot. So, it's an issue because we only have a few more days to finish the warning. And I'm not comfortable putting an article in there that we don't know if it's legal to put it in there.
Right,
That way.
I think that's right.
I think August is fine, that way no one can stress over it and worry about it. I think it's not that far away, so. And it'll happen fast. And that way you'll have plenty of time to prepare.
All right, so I'm just gonna put this note in here for the moment. Now, this,
But you just took out the dollar numbers, which.
yeah,
we-
because
we-
that was an old dollar number. It was 250 to 350 is the last thing I saw. That one had 175. I've heard what, isn't that right? Aren't they 250 to 350?
I think that was the last one I saw.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
175, I think
Okay.
was a, that's why I wanted to talk about it. It was a
Okay,
kind of a random number. Or an old number. So then this question is this. So this is the one that the resurfacing went to 200, so I'm not sure how this is supposed to line up.
I think it should be taken out because we put it up above. I just think it should go.
And it's not 300 anymore anyway.
Yeah.
Right, so let's just make sure, I agree. Let's make sure there aren't any other line items. Nope, that's just a standalone line that I'm just gonna delete. Okay. Delete that one. All right, then, along those same lines, let's just go real quick and get rid of these yellows, and then that's that for that. So Patty, did you get account numbers for this stuff?
I haven't gotten that. from you.
Okay, so that's still pending. Computer software's pending. This number, I never heard back from Paul.
I
Did
never
you?
heard back from Paul either.
So we leave it at that number?
I don't know. I mean, like, at some point, why do we keep putting $5,000 here when we don't have, we don't have a current estimate for anything? It just, again,
That wasn't the amount that Dennis needed for
No.
his new internet and.
no,
Those are different line
Yeah.
items.
No, it's in there as well, but the $5,000 for EMD was just what we had last year.
Dennis is the 1,200 part.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
was 1,800 for the new. Cause it was 1,200 for the month, a
Except
year
for-
is a month, and 5,000 to. And sorry.
Somehow somebody threw in an extra 600 for equipment, which will probably hit this fiscal year anyway, so I would it should maybe just be 1,200, I mean, I don't know, I just sort of feel like, you know, do we put 5,000 in as a courtesy because that's what we had before? You know, it feels like it's without a clear plan for spending any of that for the EMD. I mean, he was talking about radios too, wasn't he?
He was, and so that may still come up, and I think it is important because Mike at one of the last meetings confirmed that the repeater and all that stuff is just for the highway department, but there should be, you know, a radio here, right? The chairman should have it, or whoever you know, the EMD needs to have it, so that, and then that radio, depending on what's going on, you know, road commissioner has to have it.
So I'd like to suggest that we at least take the $600 that is the Starlink equipment that we're gonna be spending in this fiscal year out of that, so. Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's, I mean, I agree with all that stuff, radios and all that, but we don't have a plan.
no, we
Right.
don't, and
Yeah.
you know, like at some point, we have to realize that, you know, I probably should have chased Paul down again after we talked to him and said we needed it by this date, but we didn't, we had lots else going on.
And take
So-
it out. Take it out.
Cut it in half, take it out, what's her
Take
choice?
it out.
So
What do we wanna
that's,
do,
that's-
Select Board?
Because he still has the $5,000.
that's 5,000 for Paul.
24 that he can still use until June 30, right? So,
Yeah.
Without a plan for it, I don't
I mean-
take it out, right? Cause otherwise,
Okay,
we
let's
just,
take it out then. I don't, all right, so it's a group decision
Right.
that we're gonna take out any extra for the EMD because we don't have a plan for it.
Mm.
Yeah.
and the 1,200 is to cover,
It's to cover the monthly fee for Starlink, which he should get set up sooner, and there will be $600 plus an extra $100 a month for the remainder of this fiscal year, which was not necessarily budgeted, but which we said, yeah, go ahead for.
right, so we did that. So the 1,200 is just the monthly for 25.
and then how much was the equipment for this Starlink? Was that the 600?
That was the 600, but that'll hit this year's budget.
Oh, right, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so now I'm just saying reduce 5,000 from EOC, absent spending plan, Starlink is 1,200. I don't know if I want to say it just like that, but
I think that's fair. I mean, at this.
well, I don't want to
point,
get Paul in trouble either. I want somebody to look at that and say, well,
But
Well,
it's true though.
I mean, at some point, I think we just have to say, like, we had to make some decisions and we didn't hear back and we felt like it wasn't a clear plan, so we decided not to fund it because we're already way over budget.
Mm.
Way over last year's increase, and we need to,
We gotta do what we gotta do.
okay, so the accounting services reserve. I think that was just green. I'm not sure why.
I mean, it's because we think we're
Yeah.
gonna spend at least 15 every 3 years.
Yes.
right? So,
So that's there, no change there. And then we had this bridge construction.
Yep.
And so that isn't there some past years, so. I wanted, let's see what, oh my goodness, the heck, what is all this?
lots of history. It is now a formal reserve fund. We're only putting 5,000 in instead of 30,000. But. It's
All
fine
right,
to-
we
it's
can
fine to
adjust
leave-
that.
Fine to leave the note there. if they-
Okay, this number I think is an easy change, guys. We had 16,250 there. We then got the bill from them of 16,485. I think that needs to be 16,485.
Are we not gonna add update it? I mean,
That is, the 16,485 is the brand
Is
new
what we
number
got.
okay,
for
that-
FY 25.
that-
okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
That's what we got.
Okay, thank you.
Because originally we were gonna confirm with final billing and then we got
Okay.
final billing.
Okay.
We'll just delete that part, bill yearly.
I would like to say I appreciate all these notes.
Yeah, I do too.
makes it much clearer.
Okay, so yellows, discuss article, contracted recycling. So what do you want to put that, Edie, that this was your we weren't gonna have advisory articles, so this
We're not,
needs,
we're not gonna have advisory articles. Everybody thinks we should keep it. We should still have a conversation, but not during town meeting, but in a special select board warrant meeting after town meeting.
so this will just be blank at the moment.
Yeah.
Cause it's no change.
Yeah.
All right, so at the moment, I should just say, just because we've said it and others, no change from prior year. Rent. This is the school, this is the school business, right?
Yep.
So for this,
I think what we should say is we will need a new legal contract. I mean, again,
the contract with the school board needs to needs to be updated to reflect this amount, or
Yeah.
this, to reflect this. Something,
agreement.
Agreement.
I mean,
Yes.
it's a contract and.
yes,
If people come in and say, well, we want to cut from budget, I suppose we could go back to them and say, we can't give you that much. We haven't signed a contract with them. It was a verbal agreement to say, we will ask for this amount of money. So,
yeah. And then Patty said that this isn't the first time this has happened, that they've
Yeah.
come to ask for cash, so.
right, understood.
Which was news to me, because I was,
Oh, no, it's
Okay.
been,
Well, I think it.
I think
it
my favorite
depends.
year was the year that they said, we don't want you to pay anything, but we want you to manage a paint job on this part of the building. I'm like, all right, I can manage a paint job, I guess. And then we got yelled at about, did we deal with lead? Was it lead checked or whatever?
Oh,
Anyway,
good.
whatever.
all right, so this was yellow reappraisal reserve fund, so that's no longer yellow. And this here is where we've got the Pike Road repairs. Is this correct?
Yeah.
To what's going on here, 80/20, and we added a line item for the grant reserve fund, so. Did we add the line item for the grant reserve fund? Now that we've moved everything around with, like, where's the grant reserve fund?
So,
Well,
no,
What do you mean by that?
what we did, I believe, is we added the 80 on the income on the highway side,
So Pike Road repairs,
state aid.
let's go make sure we have that, Pike Road repairs.
Should that 40 actually be on the highway side? Cause remember, Edie, remember, we had it on the select board side because we had to cover. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I think it'll, if it's an 80/20, right, then we have to put it on a select board order to give somebody the 20, or is it that we're actually just paying for some of the
Well,
work?
we will only get 80% back. So we
Ah.
have, so if we paid Renault Brothers to fix the road or whoever, we pay the whole bill
Right,
in full, 100%. And then we submit the invoices and the report to FEMA, and then they only give us back the 80.
right, so then it seems like it should be on the highway side, doesn't it?
Well.
Because it's not actually,
It would be, right, it's.
Coming
it's
off
money
of
To
that
the
we
extent
don't
there's
have.
grants, it's an offset, so when we look at, it becomes. When we do next year's surplus deficit, it's gonna be at the right-hand side of that, right? For the highway, cause there'll be the grant reserve, the FEMA,
Well,
But it would be the left side because it would not be special appropriations or self-funding. It would be affecting the left side.
okay,
I mean, the invoice is gonna come through the highway department, right, the road commissioner order, right?
Yep.
So it should be on the highway side.
so what do we do
I
here?
would say if it was a bridge, then 100% on the select board side.
Yeah, that's probably why we had some.
So this is all,
That's
for
what it
whatever
was.
reason, this is always,
But
this
isn't Pike Road a culvert?
It's a box culvert.
But if
Okay,
it's a
so
box
then-
culvert.
Oh,
over
then it's
certain
ours,
size, It's a
right?
bridge.
That's a
Damn it.
bridge.
I'm not kidding you.
I understood.
so,
that, we had
I can't answer
You're
the
right,
question.
it's right where it should be.
Pike Road culvert, Pike Road. All right, let's do this right, Pike Road. Culvert. Bridge repairs. Um. Eligible. saying eligible because we haven't gotten it yet for 80% reimbursement.
And are people firm with the 80%? Is that what?
That's what I recall from the meetings with FEMA.
Okay.
And what about, why did we have this add a line item for the grant reserve fund? Does that ring a bell?
Because again, I think we were trying to put the income somewhere.
So we don't need to?
But it's hard to tell what fiscal year that the FEMA income's gonna come in.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so maybe we don't add a line item. Maybe we
Right,
just
that's
add
what it
this.
sounds like.
How are we accounting for this, the money we're spending on Pike Road project? Is it?
it gets spent out of the general fund.
It's gonna spend out of the general fund, and
Yep.
then when we go to apply for the reimbursement, the 80%.
Comes back in the general fund?
Do we have to show them that we spent it in any way?
Yes, so Allison should be, at that point, would be uploading invoices or giving invoices to Mary Bonilla. And she will upload into the portal all the invoices, including the guy's time and equipment
Right,
hours and
okay.
all this whole thing, fringe benefits. And then, based on all of that, then FEMA will send us back money.
I'm not getting any of this conversation for minutes. I just don't.
So I mean, based on that, it seems like this is, it should be added then to those expenses on the highway side, no? Or did we already do that?
What do you mean?
So if we're gonna be spending this 40,000,
Well, we're actually gonna be spending
I mean,
a heck of a
a
lot
lot
more.
more, but this is the 20%.
That's,
So
yes.
it's a part of the 100, which is the heck of a lot.
And
more.
Mike says that it's gonna be worked on in the summer, so that'll be in the summer of 25.
Right, but I'm just thinking, so when we tell the state how much we've spent on this and we upload all of those invoices, then they're going to send us 80% of that back, right? So this 40,000 is only going to be going to the highway department. There's no.
But I thought the culvert part of it comes to us. So let's go back to the highway department. Let's see, what do we have in the highway department? We have 190,000. So what is the total?
Sorry, do we have
190,000 plus 40,000, what's that?
230,000?
230,000 times 20% is 46,000.
Well, but you got Vaughn Road too, right? Cause we haven't seen,
I think we were estimating.
Well, we
here.
spent that already.
Vaughn Road is.
Which
in
is the
this
one
current
that's done?
fiscal year.
Is it Vaughn or
Vaughn
Pike?
is done.
Vaughn.
Vaughn is
Okay,
done.
so Vaughn, we've already spent in FY 24.
right, but we haven't got
We haven't
reimbursed.
gotten the money back from that yet.
So. I'm just gonna look on the highway side and see what we have.
Yeah, this
we
is the
had
highway side, so,
Income here.
yeah, it's account 7475 is what I'm looking at.
Is this the state aid? I don't have any, it's the
Yes.
income side.
Supplementary road,
So you're
Assistance.
budgeting 190 on the highway side for FY 25 to finish up Pike Road. Yes,
to finish up. This says used for extra natural storm. We've got Vaughn Road, we got Pike Road. Oop. And then what do we have over
so
here?
what is do we even need that 40? What is the cost? That's gonna be,
Well, again, we have the amount of money that we are responsible for. It seemed to me like there was a three-dimensional aspect when you guys explained this to me last time, and I thought I understood. That you were saying some of it was here because that was gonna be the amount we would have to spend, some of it was in other funding, and then some of it was somehow in a grant fund somewhere else. We had a three-dimensional thing, and I did understand it for
So,
10 minutes, maybe.
I'm sorry, my simple understanding is right, I thought Pike Road was, it was around 200, right?
Okay,
So, and I thought that's where the 40 came from, right? Cause that was 20% of the 200, right?
Yeah.
And then the the Vaughn Road was, well, I don't know, was it 100 and,
123 or
Yeah.
so we spent on Bond Road.
right, so we'll get 25,000 back on that or something, right, so,
It was how much?
or we'll.
123-ish.
Right, so
Okay.
we'll get about 100, right, back on that, right, so,
Sorry, what was, I'm gonna just write this down. Sorry about that. So Vaughn Road, we thought was what?
123 was what it cost to fix it,
Okay,
and so our 20% is gonna be around 20, right? And we should get a reimbursement.
24,600.
Mhm.
And where is that 24,600 showing up on the highway side?
It's not,
Okay,
And so.
Because-
because we spent it in FY 24
Yeah,
currently.
but when the 80% comes back,
It'll be, chances are, in FY 25. We
we have
won't see,
150,000.
we won't see a penny this year.
Yeah, so we have 150,000 in income coming from state aid for FY 25.
so,
Part of that should be this.
so for, in the 25 column, shouldn't we have, where's the state aid, right? So it
State
should,
aid is different. State aid is the basic highway aid that we get
that's
for
this.
class 2 and 3 roads.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
That
that's
is
that.
Separate from.
So-
That's 150,000?
Yes.
Yes.
So-
Every year.
So what is this number? Let me
Huh?
put something here. What should that be?
This is just state highway aid,
This
class
must
2
be
and
the
class 3 roads.
Other funding,
other
funding,
the
190,000.
And,
Class
so,
2
but this
and
is
3
class
We need
2
a
and
separate
3
schedule.
roads
Yep,
this
it's
is
annual, it comes every year.
annual.
quarterly.
Okay.
funding.
That has nothing to do with FEMA or bridges or
Right.
grants or anything, it just
They just help us out.
happens.
Okay,
So it's the
So there's other
190,
funding.
The 190 that we were
which
estimating.
we think we're going to get back from
So-
the state. in
so this
FY
relates,
25.
to Pike Road and Vaughn Road, is that what we're saying?
I believe so.
So it's a wash, the 190 that you put up above.
It's a wash, except that it's only a wash because the 20% we didn't get back, or we don't expect to get back in 24, so now we're putting it into 25 because we expect to see it in 25.
So the amount of money that you put up above on 7475, do you want that to only be the 20% that we are?
No.
going- No, you want the whole thing,
Yeah,
okay. So
that's
then
the
if-
whole thing. That's why I think we don't need the 40,000, because the 40,000 is already there in the 190,000. Because that's what we're.
So this
going to show
190 is in two places.
Invoices for,
So right, to Patty's point, this is in two
Yes.
places,
yes.
right?
It's a wash,
It's a wash on the bottom line.
right,
Right,
But I think it's important to realize that that 190,000 isn't the same as the 190. It's not like we're getting reimbursed the 190,000. We're only.
so what's
getting
this
reimbursed-
190,000?
so if the total cost is what, 230
Right,
for the two things, we'll be getting back 80% of that.
the cost is about 330, right? So it's 200 plus 130, right?
Oh,
Right, so it's
Okay.
like 330, so of that, we're gonna get 60, we'll get back. Or, oh, sorry. Yeah, our portion of that is 60,
so, okay, so
Right.
just to be clear, so Pike and Vaughn, the total cost is 330.
around there, yeah.
And just in terms of years, when are we spending that 330?
We already spent the Vaughn Road, 123,
Okay, that's here, yeah.
but we have not seen the reimbursement,
Okay,
right?
we spent that in FY 24,
Yes,
okay,
and the Pike Road, we haven't spent anything yet. It's supposed to get done this summer, so it will get, I mean, maybe you get, some of it will hit us in 24.
and
but
that's,
mostly it'll be
that's
20.
207.
Yes. And we definitely won't see any FEMA reimbursement in 24, that will all be in 25.
But we're gonna spend it in 24.
no, 25.
Most of it will be in 25, if not all
And
of
so
it.
if we're lucky, we will see the FEMA reimbursement for that in 25. if we are
Right.
lucky.
Okay, exactly. And so, sorry, then the FEMA reimbursement for all of this is 66. No,
No, that would be our.
165.6. Is that 80% of 207?
80% of 330.
Oh, sorry, 80% of 330, yes.
Is,
264.
Yeah. that's what it says.
264. Okay, so 264 is expected reimbursement in FY 25. Okay. So I don't know what we said for FY 24 in terms of what we had in that
so
line.
that maybe the 7475 needs to be 207, and the 40,000 on the select board side needs to disappear.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right, this is, okay, so, and in your numbers, Patrick, instead of the 123, we spent 124, 423.
124, 423, okay.
Yeah, so call it 124, so that's the 330 minus 124 is circa 206.
Yep.
Minor change. Okay, so here, we've got this big, long. So this 190.
190, which
So what is this 190 gonna be? What is that? What do we want that to be?
206.
That should be 206?
Yep.
206, all right, so that we don't screw around here, whoops, so if we go backspace, we go 206. Then over here. I'm gonna get rid of this for now. Stick this down here.
And do we need to change that bottom
Yes.
expected from FEMA?
Exactly.
Yeah, we will. So
Okay.
let me just see what I just did here. Where did I lose it? 206. So this, we got to 206, which was.
It's the cost of, pipe road.
Circa 330, oops. 330K, K minus 124
And then you might just say
Okay.
Vaughn Road. in
equals
parentheses.
206K
So,
for Vaughn Road.
no.
No, Pike.
The 124K is for Vaughn Road, so I think you might just put that in
The
parentheses.
330s for both Pike
Yeah.
and Vaughn.
Okay.
Right.
And then the 206 for Pike.
For Pike.
That will help.
Will that help us remember what we,
Yeah, I
what we
think
did?
so.
I can spell like a calculated, whoops. Sorry, guys.
So then we need to go down to M82.
Okay. M82. And there you have it, 206.
And there it is, 206, perfect.
But,
The magic of
but-
linking.
Yeah,
but that,
yeah, I mean, that's.
206 is what we're getting.
No, sorry, that should be 264, 264.
So what is this other funding?
That's that
That's
would be
the
the
FEMA.
FEMA funding.
So this would be. All right, so then,
That would be the possible FEMA reimbursement for Vaughn and Pike. But it's not 206,
right,
right?
no, yeah,
Right.
because that was just the number that was up there. So how do we get, what's the calculation for that number?
The calculation for that is 80% of 330,
Okay.
which is the
equals-
total.
Equals
of Pike and
330
Vaughn.
times 0.8. Is 264, right?
Yep.
80% reimbursement of 330K cost. Is that correct?
So you might want to say FEMA reimbursement of 80% of 330K cost.
Is that what it says?
In writing.
That's what it says.
Yep.
Relates to Pike Road and Vaughn Road, FEMA 80% reimbursement
Okay, I
of
missed that.
330 cost.
All right, thank you.
And then that number is just there just
Okay.
because. Okay. So then that seems to be. That seems to be
there's up that,
And on
Done.
the select board side, you have to take out that
Okay.
40.
yes.
So now we're here. So now this is what, 0?
Yep.
Okay. And now this becomes what?
Nothing.
Supplementary road assistant.
It's nothing. Cause it's now all on the highway side.
All right, so here I'm going to say C highway budget for Pike and Vaughan roads. Or do you want it just to be blank?
No, I like that.
That's good.
So I'm still kind of saying to myself, in the current fiscal year, we've paid for Vaughan Road. 20% of that cost will be on the town. Where are we budgeting that 20%?
It's in 24. It's what we're doing right now today. It's not in a budget.
Okay, so next year.
But we
we're
haven't
gonna-
spent it here, right? That's where it's gonna go.
That's the 124 that is in. That's the 124,000.
But that's in the highway side.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
'Cause we
So-
we did the work. and
So what
paid
part
for it.
does the select board budget have of that number? Or are we saying it's not a bridge, so we don't?
It's not a bridge on Vaughn. It
But
was all
Pike it
culverts
is.
And stuff.
Like, I don't.
What is it?
I mean, I sort of feel like the select board versus highway thing is a
Yeah.
bit of a, is a bit of a non-issue for me.
Okay,
What's an issue for me is in the current fiscal year, unexpected, we have spent 123,000. We don't expect to get reimbursed for that until next year.
Mhm.
And what the portion of that is our cost, did we just put it in that 190 somehow?
let's go back and see.
Portion of that is our cost is in
Right, so
the
that,
206.
right, so
So
that,
there's the 124 that we actually spent here for Vaughan Road.
So I see what you're saying. The only project we actually have left is Pike Road. Are we allocating money for money that we just spent on Vaughn? On that line in the highway, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm just sort of saying, like, when all is said and done, we owe 20% of that total cost. And some of that has already been money spent and we will get reimbursement, but we'll have that gap. That gap amount is not reflected in this budget, even though,
Or we don't reflect it at all because we've already spent it in FY 24. And we wait until we close the books for FY 24 and see if there is a
And then we do the-
natural surplus or deficit.
yeah,
And
Alright.
deal with it at that point,
okay. All right,
which might be less than the 20% that we
I
have
mean,
to.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's really a cash flow thing, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, the government makes it painful. It
Well,
takes
that's-
forever.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's enough, unfortunately, there's enough people out there who will scam for this kind of stuff too, but I mean, I wanted to just make sure we
So,
acknowledge that we,
okay, so that doesn't need to be yellow anymore, right? So we've said that that is the 124, that's Vaughan Road. The 206 is what we expect to spend for Pike,
Right.
right? Then we,
But should that one you were just on, that 124 supplementary assistance, it's really 80%. If that's what the bond road costs, the supplementary assistance, if that's income, should be 80%
No,
of it.
that's expense.
It's expense. So we're taking the whole expense? Not-
yes, because we
not-
pay it and then then we get reimbursed,
Okay.
right?
And
So
we're
then,
not gonna get reimbursed in.
in
this-
the
this
same
year,
year.
we'll
In
get
this
it.
budget, okay.
So then this is
Yeah.
where the reimbursement's coming in.
And this is what Patty is saying is that, like, if we do everything else perfectly, we'll have a negative 20% of that at the end of FY 24, and we're expecting to see it in FY 25.
Okay.
This other
Right.
funding, is it ever anything but FEMA? Or we want to leave it other funding?
It could be grants.
Yeah, I think we leave it.
Oh, if I'm fine leaving it, I just want to make sure. So all we're saying here, I'll say FY,
All that we know that is hopefully coming in, fingers crossed, could be somewhere around the 264-ish.
Right, so all I'm saying is fiscal
April
25, this number relates to
We're lucky, yeah.
Pike Road
We
and
also
Bond
might not
roads,
Get it in FY 25.
80% FEMA
Probably
reimbursement
more
of the
likely,
three thirty
and then-
costs.
And then we're gonna be severely underfunded,
Right,
and then I'm gonna panic.
but at least we'll know why.
Great. I always like to know why.
And so I just
No,
want to say, I have no,
that makes sense.
the minutes for this whole conversation, I am
So
lost.
And I think one of the things we need to maybe acknowledge is that the detail that we were sometimes able to add for these minutes is just not feasible when we don't have someone here who can
It's
take
not.
notes on top of the other stuff that we need to do. Just like we said, when we updated the town, position descriptions, we said we had a working session, we updated the town position descriptions. That was.
Without all the detail, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the minutes will be general. right?
Yeah.
We'll do a paragraph to cover this whole.
right, and I think
conversation.
we've got the information at least in the comment section here.
If you have a recording, as
Yeah,
well,
right.
right?
Yes,
Well,
it's just that
theoretically.
what we don't want to do is set ourselves up for needing to do detailed minutes by listening to this whole conversation again, because I can tell you that you go
Takes
back over
hours.
it 3 times.
Takes
each
hours.
Time you want to get a number,
Mhm.
yeah,
Takes
so,
hours. So the last one here, Patty, or everybody here, where we said we paid off, in this case, the garage bond and interest, do we need to say what year we paid it off? Do you want to just say paid off? It's not applicable certainly for
I think,
95.
I think depending on how much we actually have space to show in the town book, it will eventually,
Oh, we'll be able to show it instead of being, I think,
It was
Patty,
paid off in 23, FY 23.
both of them.
Yes,
I think what's gonna happen is, instead of being in the book portrait, it's gonna be in the book landscape.
Oh.
And then we're gonna get, why isn't this?
as long as the typeset is not very small.
I know, well, I will make it happen. I will make it happen.
Well, you don't need to have 22 in there.
Nope, we won't. I will make it happen. Come on.
And you don't need to put the notes in.
Well, some of these notes,
the notes are for us for next
Right,
year.
Okay.
the notes for us, they don't need to go in, just
yeah.
notes,
No,
the,
but
the budget and spent for 23, the budget and spent for 24, and then the proposed for
25,
25.
and this column.
And, right, you wanted that
We
one.
gotta have that column, because that column is what gets us to this calculation. That's how we get here. And I want this to be one of our schedules. So, where are we now? This is one. And this data still hasn't changed, right?
No,
The as of data, like the spends and all that
Nope,
stuff, we haven't done
that's
anything.
as
Okay,
of, yep,
okay. Well, As
exactly.
long as that's still the same. Okay. I'm not sure why that's yellow. We'll get rid of that.
There's nothing, yep.
Oh, right, so it's just not spent. Okay. So on the agenda, have we
So
gone
we've
through?
done
Oh,
the line item updates, I think, one of the other things that I brought up at some point, briefly was that the, tree warden had not asked for funding this year, even though her report seemed to indicate that maybe we should fund that every year. When I got back to her, she addressed, a typo that I had pointed out to her, but she said, we're not gonna get a grant this year, so she basically didn't ask for money again, so let's leave that out.
Okay,
By choice, because she didn't say, yes, we should still put 10,000 in when we don't have grants, we're gonna let it go for this year. Were there any other, I think the other one that I was thinking was the EMD stuff. Is there anything else in anybody? And then whether we're gonna do something with the ARPA funds. So I think that line item updates is done.
okay.
List of schedules for town report. So,
Right,
There's-
before we go on to that, can I just say one thing about the budget? So in your surplus and deficit calculations, I think we have to maybe find some way to help people understand how we get from what's in the budget to what's in the surplus and deficit calculation.
That's really more of a narrative though, or do you think
Yeah.
it's a bridge,
No, I agree. I think it's a
Good.
narrative thing, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
say that I think some people may look at the budget and say, wait a minute, and if we look at the raise and appropriate, it looks like we're 152,000 to the good for FY 24.
Right, because there's a lot of, several things on that other page that affect the
Exactly.
bottom line that is not budgeted items.
like school
by-
taxes and,
That's why I'm just saying, like, I think we may need to,
Yeah.
This is
Help
the
people
all
understand it.
inclusive how we get there. But if you're just gonna compare the budget, the
Yeah.
select board budget and highway to the actual amount, then you would have whether your budget came in close, high, low.
yeah,
what we don't have, it doesn't seem like we ever had, is a schedule, and I don't know how practical it is, that basically is very simple, has very few line items, but it has the key line items for revenue, the key line items for expense. So like highway expense would be spent in that year. We spent in the highway, and if we're doing comparative, a comparative look back, what was our total revenue in 22? What was our total revenue in 23?
yeah,
Right, just at least because the 2 years that we can look at, right? So we got the financials for 23, this is based on 20, this is based on 23. And then we can say, these are all the revenue items, these are the expense items, and expense is, these are the highway expenses, these are select board expenses, these are all the other expenses.
Mhm.
We come down to a number, which also should foot back to this number. Should also foot back to the 60,000
right.
cash basis. I guess that's something I'm gonna have to sit down with Patty next, between now and the fifth.
Maybe
And
we
come up
like
with that
going
schedule.
forward, instead of going backwards, maybe that is something, a goal of ours to go forward with it.
Yeah,
We have this data, next year we'll have next year's data and this data.
Right.
yeah, I think one of the things that for people who aren't so into the numbers are,
What?
there are a few of them. I don't know. A
Wow.
few of them live here in Halifax. This is gonna be overwhelming in terms of the change and the amount that's new. When I,
Much of a change though.
well, it
really
is,
isn't.
it is, Karen, because there's lots more things to look at, right?
Well,
And, when I look at this particular slide and it talks about a $3.3 million, I'm like, wait a second, that's not all municipal, right? Because the school taxes are in here. And I think that that's going to be a surprise and a shock and something we have to explain to people.
but people always ask, what's our surplus and deficit, which is a legit question. This is how you get there.
Correct. And what we've done in the past is really just compared what we had in the select board or the highway department in terms of that column that was spent, and whether that was right or wrong, that was how they always, that was how we understood generally where we were tracking, right?
Mm.
So, I think that, when I look at this and say, which part is the select board responsible? We got nothing to do with that school tax number, right? It's just something that is a pass through essentially. We get it, we have to send it out. So,
We're actually making it
as-
lower.
as-
Range.
Yeah.
as much as what I want to do is like say to this is all really good information, but if we start by just saying to people, what we're gonna tell you is that in terms of operational expenses for town, we had a $40,000 deficit, which we asked you to fund in the current fiscal year. End of story. And like, don't go into the detail if they don't ask about it.
That's right.
So do you not want that schedule in the book?
I don't mind having the schedule in the book. I think, let's try to keep the story as simple as we can.
Sure.
And if we have the data to back it up, even just being able to look while we're defending the budget at the informational meeting or any other opportunity we have to socialize it to people. What we want to be able to do is look at those notes ourselves and be able to explain and drill down when people ask.
Yes.
But we need to sort of pull ourselves back to what is the high level picture? we were pretty close to our target for the budget for for FY30. We were only this % over. Here's the big increases in the budget this year from last year. Here's why they're happening. You know, equipment. And then, you know, what questions do people have?
Which is a nice segue to the report that the select board writes, right? So I think what you just said that I didn't scribble down
Okay.
is part of, you know, this is where we ended up, right? What's
Yeah.
the story? What is the narrative about the numbers that they're looking at, right? As opposed to, we met a bunch of times and this is how you get more information.
Yeah.
Right, so that doesn't speak to any of our accomplishments. It doesn't speak to anything that we spent a lot of time focusing on. And I think when we're talking about part of the narrative, that gets it into, you know, the book
Yeah.
in the
let's-
voice that we want it to have, and then we
Yeah.
talk it through.
Well, I think it's very important that we're able to credibly explain why we're here, right, how we got here. I was very surprised at the last town meeting that, you know, the budget went up, you know, quite a bit. And all I did was add to it. And there was no questions essentially.
Right.
So I think we need to be thoroughly prepared, but I wouldn't be surprised if nothing happens at all.
Okay.
Either
I
that or
think
we'll
we're
get thrown
really
under the
ready.
bus.
Well,
Either
that
way.
happened
Well,
too.
So I just want to go back to the list of schedules for the town report and just to say for Pete, for Patrick, that we came up with a list from the table of contents of all the things that need to go into the town report.
Mhm.
We have a lot more of them than we initially did because I was able to get into the Halifax secretary account, pull down reports. Allison was in today and she put those into a single folder on a Google Drive, and I asked her to give all select board members access to that report, to those
Mhm.
reports, so that no matter who's able to pitch into this effort to pull this book together, everybody can see what is there. This needs to be a little bit updated because Karen added a list of the schedules that she wants in the book.
Which
So,
are the ones that are here.
yep, so we're gonna make sure that we have those listed. We've got a list of a few things that we're trying to follow up with different people that we didn't happen to get, like something from the mover this year. But if we don't get them, too bad. They're not going in the report. We move on. The only things that we are supposed to have in the report are the auditor's report, which may need to be a separate document because there's a different deadline.
Just on that,
Yeah.
the auditors are planning to have that by February 5th.
Okay, all right, so that's cool.
And Patty, have you arranged time or have they arranged time to sit down with you to go
I-
through whatever they need to go through?
I sat with Lee and Diana today
Oh, good.
for about an hour, and then he sent me an email to check a date that I haven't looked at yet.
February 3rd.
So this file that was shared, this is essentially the table of contents, is that?
These are the components that are gonna be put into to some sort of format so that they become this.
Okay,
Ooh,
so I don't see the select board report.
No, it's not in there because you didn't give it to us electronically, and,
Okay, I fixed it and I can send it to you.
okay, great, and I think that one of the things that, Karen.
I think Allison circulated it in Word.
Oh, she did?
Allison
Yeah,
circulated it.
but last year's,
Right, but Allison,
right.
but we didn't have it in Word. we got an email from
Well,
Allison.
I had it in Word, because I created it in Word, so
So,
I,
right, you didn't,
I,
but you didn't give it to us electronically,
right,
right?
but I didn't
Yeah.
yet, but I'll send
Okay.
it.
But-
So do you want me to just dump it in this folder or?
Before you do, I think Allison circulated it in Word, so we don't have to double up. So just let me just see what,
Well,
what
I
email
saw
did
what she circulated the 2023 select board report
Yeah.
in Word,
yes,
right?
yeah.
And
so
what
we
I
haven't
did is
got the
I
new one.
took that because I already had it, because I
Oh,
created it,
Okay,
right? And I edited it, and now I have a 2024 one in Word.
okay, which is different from what you showed us before?
I fixed it, I fixed my
Okay.
errors,
Okay,
or at
okay,
least what I could find,
okay.
so.
All right, so on that, I'm trying to get back to the agenda because I want to make sure we check with all of these things. So one thing that I wanted to say, Pete, is that I think that there might be some improvements we could make to the select board report in terms of making it less a history, well, like there's some elements of it that, as I recall from seeing it last time, that said, here's when we meet and here, and that could change, right? The next board could decide we want to meet at 7 PM instead of at 6 PM. So I think we'd want to maybe take that out and instead add some things like we had a wonderful participation from the community at a CAP meeting looking at community projects.
But
We,
the problem is we didn't act on them.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
We met.
We did.
We
We did
it's
a lot
part
of
of a
that.
process.
Yeah.
And the process is trying to help community planning and future thinking.
Mhm.
I'd like to see the CAP thing in there. What else did we do that was outstanding?
Like,
this
yeah,
year?
what were our accomplishments?
The ARPA money was funded. Right? We spent our ARPA money. So we might want to make some adjustments to that.
Yeah, okay, I'm just making
Also-
some notes here, so.
We added a finance committee.
Added a financial committee. Also, I hate to say this, but as I'm looking up at that thing, cemetery has all E's in it. Cemetery account is all E's.
Oh,
Can I
I
not
know why,
spell?
because I spell it wrong every single time and I'm sorry.
well,
to
it's
think it was right.
cemetery, back from the spelling bee days, cemetery,
I didn't.
Think it
I
is
didn't
Thank
right.
get
you very
that
much,
mnemonic.
Melanie.
I think it is, isn't cemetery, is it AY or
It's
It's
ER.
E,
ERY? Yes.
E, cemetery,
That would be my spelling error.
Anyway, sorry. So I think that's the kind of stuff like maybe not worrying about like telling people that they can come to the meetings and just sort of saying, here's a few of the highlights of the year.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say that regular special meetings as needed are warned by
Yep.
posting on it, right? And I just won't schedule, I won't post a schedule, I won't put a
Yep,
schedule in
Because
here.
Patty's also got that, by the way, in another section of the report.
Okay, and then I'll talk about the bulletin boards, we took care of the ARPA funding stuff, we created a finance committee. Yeah, I'll just add those notes and I'll send this thing out again,
And
okay?
one of the things that after Allison had a good idea, one of the things that she said, I scribbled it down. I'll send it to you offline because she had some links that she wanted to put in. I know there's some links in there, so let me check. I have to check with Allison because I don't have that now.
Links you wanted to put into the select board report?
Reminder to sign up
Yeah.
for
Oh, yeah, there was something.
bulletins.
So
which
there
I
was,
think-
there was a calculation that was, MailChimp, and I don't know what the language is gonna be. MailChimp has like 53 people on it,
Oh, yeah.
and there's registered voters of
600,
several
right?
hundred. And so, if registered voters want, more access to
Mm.
what's going on, do this kind of thing. So, and the reason I thought that was a really good idea is because by saying, people are saying, well, you guys are, I've never heard it, but maybe they'll say you guys are opaque. We don't really know what you're doing. Obviously we're going, we're making everything available, but by putting something like that in there, saying, look, 53 people kind of pay attention to what's happening and when it's happening.
And certainly some of those may be households and not just a single person.
Yeah, for sure.
But all that to say, like, let's do just a tiny bit of marketing of what we've done this
Okay,
year.
all right, I'll try, I'll.
Can we-
I put-
I mean, Allison had some
I-
good
I've
ideas.
never
just
had
wondering
it.
I'm just wondering if we can do that and it's on a separate page instead of in the select board report. It almost sounds like that this is more like
Well, it's sort of,
information.
Like,
for
what
the
do other
town.
towns do for their select board report? Cause I gotta tell you what, when I looked at it, I've never written a select board report, but I looked at it and I was like, well, that's underwhelming.
If you
Nobody
could-
did anything.
if
And
you-
like the cemetery report is awesome.
Well,
I know, but
it's-
yeah.
If you can give me the wording for the MailChimp and all that kind of stuff, I can add it to my Halifax information that I give to new people. Which is separate from this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
For sure, but
As a
Anyway,
means of.
So, I
all
mean,
that
the
to say,
select
let's-
board report could be the book, right? If we want to
It-
get it, but.
no, I
but-
think what we want to do is we want to make it interesting. Like, what were the highlights? I like, because the highlight is not the meeting that's going till 8:20, right? That's like, it's just like, here's here's the highlights of some of the important stuff. If you missed it, here's what we've done as a board that's, you know, kind of tried to look to the future of the town. I don't think we should spend a whole lot of time, you know, like wordsmithing it or whatever. Let's just embellish it a little bit, take out the stuff that is reflected in other parts of this document, and then get it out there, get it done. So that's the other, so I think that was the only, I don't think that was actually technically on the agenda, but the point is to just sort of say, the panic that you've heard in my voice is still, there's still some, but it's not as bad as it was before. And it is, yes, it was really great to see Allison today too, and know that.
She called me today, but I was up in the back and when I called her back, I couldn't get her.
Yeah, no, it was nice to see her and to have her do some of this. She also did pull some of the stuff off of,
She spent Zoom time.
Zoom, getting some of the Zoom
YouTube.
stuff down for us
Oh,
too.
good.
And she showed me how to do it, so I will try to get more of it done if I can. All right, so the town meeting warning articles. So last year, we had 21, 22 articles. This year, things will look much less. There's much less to go on this, so let me pull up what I
Are
have.
you
so
writing
far.
that now?
So I have a, oh wait, that's the agenda.
Do you still need me here?
What else do we have on the agenda? Do we need Patty?
I got articles,
The only
budget raise and appropriate,
The only petitioned article we got was wings.
Yes.
Okay,
there was excavator borrowing.
And there's nothing special that has to go on, like say the historical, you know, the community hall, firehouse, the trust, none of that has to go on this year.
right, okay.
That's-
And, I think that's it. So I don't think we need you any further.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Patty.
It's huge.
You're welcome.
Do you need me?
Yes, I do, because we want to look at these articles.
Do you want, Karen, do you want me to email you this spreadsheet? Just to have it, just in case, if you need to pop it back up?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need that spreadsheet. I think there's some cleanup that still has to be done. If the board lets me, just kind of consolidating some of the notes and quotes and stuff, but I wanna, what I wanna do is reformat the select board and the highway tabs so that they can go in landscape into the book and get them print ready. And then the couple of schedules. So the only schedule, what was the one schedule that I still needed to do on here? So is, oh, and this was the budget comparative analysis. Did we say we needed a budget comparative analysis or no? With one line item, like here's all the revenues, these are the expenses, this is where we ended up.
Was that the very last one that we discussed?
Mhm.
No, we decided we would do that in another year.
Okay. So that comes off of this list. So we've added the surplus deficit, we've added this select board discretionary analysis, and then that's that.
Okay.
And we've got the vehicle financing, we're gonna update vehicle and financing, Pete and Mike and I to kind of block in
We'll just-
forward,
For a little
a
bit
forward
forward looking.
look, yeah.
Okay.
and it's gonna be, you know, heavily disclaimed. As we don't know what the numbers are gonna be,
Stuff, right?
but order of magnitude, I think,
Yeah.
if we can at least present that, that would be helpful.
All right, so walking through the actual warning articles, one thing we do need to know is what is the raise and appropriate amount and what is the total expenditure count? What is the amount to be raised by taxes and what is the amount for the non-tax revenues? So those should be,
I just sent the whole thing to Karen,
okay, all right.
the whole spreadsheet that we just had up on the screen.
Yeah, but why don't we just ask the numbers, Patty, you have it right in front of you, right?
She's trying to
I
leave.
just closed it. Now I can open it up.
So, yeah, cause so what do we need? We need to
Here,
raise
let
and
me-
appropriate equals, what's that number?
Let me get back on there, hold on.
So, why don't you
I-
tell me, Edie, what we need while she's opening
Shall
up.
the
again?
town approve highway and select board and highway expenditures of how many millions of dollars? Of which so much will be raised by taxes and so much by non-tax revenues.
And I don't,
So this amount typically, I believe, would look at
hold on, I'm getting it.
Okay. I think basically this total select board and highway expenses is the total raise and appropriate, is the total amount, no.
Yes, because that was the 24 amount. So yes, that should be,
Okay. Okay, so this amount and then minus other,
The income.
so what is
Income.
that? That is, what is that? A million? What is that? A million, what? I can't, without my eyes, I guess. it's easier.
1,884,864
1,884,864.
is the total select board and highway expenses.
Yep,
Then raise and appropriate here is 1,512,663.
Sorry, run that by me,
1,512,663.
okay.
well, your number's gonna be different from Patty's, because we did all kinds of,
Okay, yeah, this
I'm
is the,
sharing, I'm gonna share it on the screen.
Yeah.
okay.
yep, sorry, I'm sorry, Edie, I just
Total
I
raise and
had a
appropriate.
brain cramp.
I know, I'm looking at it from a text-based thing, and so I'm trying to figure out like,
Yep, nope, that's fine. So A, raise and appropriate. Patty,
what is
Let me
non-tax
just check one little thing, just to double check.
and hopefully I saved it in the right spots, right?
You okay,
So raise and appropriate is,
nope, that's not carrying over correctly.
what's not?
Highway.
Hold on. Okay, so raise and appropriate highway,
Go back to select board. Go back to select board. Raise and appropriate highway expenses.
right here from other tab, it's saying 1454. But if I go to the highway tab,
It's
oh, it is
145.
1454, okay,
Look at
good.
you.
Yep, phew. Okay, so total highway and select board, raise and appropriate. What number do you want?
so, we want the select board and highway expenditures. I think that's the total number, right?
No, that's up here. Is
That would be,
for the income, municipal subtotal.
That doesn't include highway.
okay, so the, okay, so let's see. So that's the municipal total. And then these are, these are incomes, net municipal. The highway total from the other side, but then you're adding in this down here. So we need to do a calculation.
I thought we did. That 1822 should equal,
So, sorry,
click on the 1822 and show me what the calculation is there. Click on that. So that's the sum of net municipal.
But but to make the article,
yeah,
Edie needs multiple numbers.
So, so I need to know how much is going to be raised by taxes and how much is going to be by non-tax revenues. Those two things together should total the select board and highway expenditures, which we are asking. for.
right, so I think
Okay,
we
so-
need to get this number, this 377,535 from the highway side.
All right, so we're
add them together.
raising and appropriating the 1,822,269. That includes this 40,000.
1,822,269.
Yep, that is the raise and appropriate. Total.
Okay, and then how much of it is gonna be by
Highway.
non-tax revenues?
Non-tax revenues is, hold on, it is on the select board side, it is the 50,700 plus
Wait a minute, where are you? Where's the 50,700?
right here,
Income.
Okay,
okay?
50,700.
That plus
Grants on the other side, right, state aid.
oh, we don't have a subtotal. Well, plus these two, the 150 and the 264.
Plus 150, plus 264,
14.
Yep,
sorry, 150 and 264 is 414.
yes, from non-tax revenues. So that includes the state highway aid, the 264 potentially coming from FEMA on the highway side. Because this number, this number here is all the expenses,
See,
okay? So then on the select board side, we have this 50,700, which is made up of Eames, Scott, fees and interest. Okay, that is non-tax revenue.
So it's
And
4.
what about of how much, and so how much of that is taxes? 1822269 minus 414?
No, not minus at all. The total raise and appropriate is the 1.8.
22269.
Yes.
Okay,
But we do need to have a
What about the-
number of which, we need to have a number that will be raised by taxes, so.
1.822269.
And okay, let me state this again. We have to approve total expenditures of which so many dollars shall be raised by taxes and so many dollars should be by non-tax revenue.
right.
1.822269 shall be raised by taxes. And that addition number,
So what you're saying, wait. 1822269 plus 414 is the total 2,236,000? Is that what you're saying?
Let me look at this.
yeah, so you have the 1.822269 plus, if you want a total number, plus the 50,700 plus,
That's the 414.
yeah, plus,
But the 50,700 is income, isn't it?
right, so
414.
you want a total number. And then of this, X amount, what does the article say?
So the article says, shall the town approve select board and highway expenditures of X number of dollars, of which a smaller percentage shall be raised by taxes and a small percentage by non-tax revenues. to-
Okay.
So that 1,888,864 is that's the total expenditure number.
That is what we are going to raise and appropriate, the 1.822269.
I think despite the raise and appropriate there, I'm not sure that that's,
So the amount that the expenses, forget about the income for a minute, the expenses, as I understand on the select board side, are 377,535.
Is that including the 40,000?
No,
I think we put that on the other side.
No, for the deficit.
oh, for the deficit.
Yeah.
This is it? 377.
Oh, 377, yes. So it's 377,535 is the total municipal expenses. But don't forget to add that
The
$40,000
Right,
deficit.
right.
So that's 40,770
So
balance budget number.
377,535 plus 40,770
535 plus 40,770
plus
18,
Ready?
Yeah,
1,868,663, which is the highway,
1,868,663
663 is a highway total. That is the total amount of both budgets.
That should be 2286968.
Yep, 2286968.
Okay, so that would be the first
So that
number,
that's what goes into the article.
yes, and then of which
968.
of which 1,822,269 will be raised and appropriated by taxes. And added together 50,700 and 150,000 and the 264,000 raised by non-tax revenues.
Four
So that's the
64,700.
464,700 is the non-tax revenue amount. And then I think all of that adds nicely to the 1822269.
All right.
And what I can do,
Yeah, like, so what I need to know, because I'm just trying to compare it to what we had last year. So last year, this 1350262 was the total. Then we were getting this much from taxes and this 218,500 was grants. So tell me what this number is gonna be now. Originally I had 414, but it sounds like.
That would be the by,
464,700.
yep, by non-tax revenues.
Okay. All right, and what's the,
Raise
Yeah.
and appropriate.
1822269.
one,
Two,
eight,
one more
two,
two.
269,
Uh-huh.
okay. And this number,
That number
This-
should be the
2,286,968.
2,286,968.
okay. It feels like there's something off here. Just as I compare these, right? And I'm trying to figure out why it feels like there's like,
Well, the
Like-
bottom number, it's
Mhm.
huge
right,
because of FEMA.
right,
Yeah.
that I understand.
Normally, we wouldn't have put that in there.
Right,
And the upper number is huge because you don't have any of the separate articles anymore.
Yeah.
You put in the resurfacing and the bridge.
Cemetery.
and last year, those totaled up to 328,000. According to right up there, right, the articles, H 115 was 328,000.
Okay,
So, I mean, I'm kind of
so
wondering
yeah,
if
so the
that,
difference between both of those, the 1,350,000 and the 2,286,000. It's pretty big, it's almost $1 million. Right?
Yeah.
900 and
Well,
some
but
odd
you're
thousand
gonna
dollars.
add the 328 to the 1,350, right? So that's 725. Right, isn't that what we're saying?
see,
right, 'cause-
I'm having to look at that number in row 114 and trying to say, are we somehow trying to make sure that we take that number in 114, everything we're asking for, and then subtract the 430, whatever. You know what I mean?
The 464.
You mean,
Yeah.
you think we're double counting the 464
Yeah,
in the
mean-
2,286?
yeah, I mean, because I'm saying like this number by itself is like $500,000 more than this,
Patty,
right?
can I drive for a sec?
yeah, yeah,
While you're,
So this
What are you
number needs to
thinking?
be all the expenditures, this number needs to be all the grants that we're gonna count against it. I would say there's a subtraction somewhere that's not, like, despite the fact it says raise and appropriate, I
Okay,
still
well,
feel like,
the highway budget is $500,000, $600,000 more
okay,
than it was in
and select board,
the select board, more like 500,000. And the select board is about 120. Rough numbers.
$120 more, okay,
And then add the articles to that. And you get close to $1 million.
but the.
In
Okay,
terms of the difference that you're talking.
so we
Yeah.
can, let's do it, let's see if I can help. Uh-oh, what's going on?
Oh, nice blank.
what's going on, what's going on, what's going on? So if we have the first one was raise and appropriate. What is the language that you want to use there? Let's just get all these numbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link in here to the various
Okay,
spots.
so the first number is a total.
I know, what's the
It's
language?
called-
Raise
it's
and
called
appropriate what?
Approve highway and select board expenditures.
All right, so hold on. Approve
And that would be before. any
highway
funding.
and select board
Expenditures.
expenditures.
How much are we spending?
Okay, so then here I'm gonna say highway, and here I'm gonna say select board.
Okay,
For 2025, because we like those numbers. Let's say that's gonna be equal. So the highway, we said, is it this number? 1454663? What's the
Mhm.
number? That's the income against expenses. That's the raise and appropriate, or is
No,
it
it's
this
upper
one, the
number,
1868?
Yeah.
All right, so that's that one.
8663.
That means this, let's see if we get this. That one is gonna be 1260 for the budget, right? Because we're going back to the articles, right? This numbers, we're gonna go back to the articles. So for select board, bear with me. What's the number for the select board? The 326 or the 377?
377535.
That goes there.
But don't forget to add in the
And the
40.
core, I
And
didn't
then
get there
there's the
yet,
40.
and the corresponding number, because I want to go back to. These numbers all should go back to whatever the articles were, right? So this. So where's the 40? So this is surplus. Fund. Fund deficit, so that's this number, goes over here, right?
Mhm.
Here, and we're funding the deficit here,
Mhm.
and this. We didn't have a deficit, so that's gonna go there, and that's fine. So this. Oh, you don't have. Oops, how do I? We gotta work on some. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, hold on. Hold on. Easy way. Geez, Patty, you don't have any of your. Okay. All right, so that's,
Please adjust it how you think you want it.
yeah, no, I can make your life easier, but not right now. Okay. So now that's the number that we have. That's the 2286. So what's the next article? So this is going to be article number what, right?
this is all one article.
Okay.
This is all a single article, which I don't know the number of it
But
yet.
the next number that's up here,
So the next thing in the wording is how much shall be raised by taxes?
Okay, hold
is a raise and appropriate number.
Again, I just want to make
So
sure we're
let's say
not
how
getting,
much shall be raised by taxes.
and how much by non-tax revenue. Let's kind of
We'll
again,
put them both together, okay?
calculate that.
How much, whoops. Shall be raised by,
Shall be non-tax revenue.
shall be non-tax revenue, okay? Okay, so over here, how much shall be raised by taxes? Let me just say if we can.
I guess I would argue that what you want to
One-
do is say how much should be non-tax revenue, because we have
Well,
those
do-
numbers separate. And then you should subtract from the, how much we have to spend to say that's the remainder.
Sure. Okay. Delete that. Okay, so how much from non-tax revenue?
464,700.
464,700, and we got to 464,700 by this 5077 plus the highway.
No, yeah.
Yeah, now we go over to highway plus highway, this
414,
And-
and that plus that,
264, right?
yeah.
464,700. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the prior year, let's just see what we did. This, let's see what we came up with. Was this plus highway, which would be this plus this. 204,500, is that a familiar number?
Right, but there's a Scott, and I think did you add the Scott money in there?
That wasn't part of our 464,700.
Because there isn't any. Well,
It should be
It-
14,000
it
higher
should
than
be
it
in
is.
there.
Okay, I didn't add it, so where do you want me to, let's see,
So.
Where do
I
I
mean,
need
keep in
it?
mind that the Scott Fund was on the highway in previous years.
yeah,
right, so in the highway, this 14, okay, so fair point, all right, good point, so let's. Okay, let me get back there. Articles. So it'd be 464. This would be select board, this would be plus. Plus. This one here. Oh, it's in there. The Scott Fund is
yeah,
in the
the stuff is
50.
It's because you have the calculation on the select board side, but not the highway side. So on the highway side for FY 24, you have to manually add in that 14 grand.
Okay, so that's fine. So over here, this would be plus. Plus. Highway, this number? This
Yep.
14,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what you have in your,
it's not there. So now we have select board, 50,000. Plus. We've got select board 50,000.
yeah,
It was 35,000, so the corresponding number for the select board is 35,
mhm,
in budget 24. Then when we go to the highway. We have these two numbers on the select board side,
mhm.
and then we have these, should have these three numbers. On the highway side.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping, do these articles match up? And how much should be raised by taxes? So this is gonna be this minus this. And this is gonna equal, look at that magic number, this minus this. Look at that magic number. That's what we had, right?
And then you just-
Okay, so
yeah,
last year, this.
So I did it that way so that we can find out, we can figure out where we got from.
All right, so just kind of as a note here, whether this is. So if what we have up on the screen is correct,
But does that match your numbers? That's what you had. You had
okay, no, but I'm looking at last year. Here's what we asked for last year.
that
Yeah.
number, yep.
No. That,
no,
last year, this, did we, so,
this year, FY 24.
FY 24.
yes, right.
Yeah.
So, the article as it read last year asked for us to raise a total of 101.350 million, right? 1 million.
After the amendment.
That was after.
That was after the amendment.
Correct,
So it was
correct. So
Total-
last year,
total expenditures of 1.35 million.
This is after the $100,000 amendment?
Yes. But that's not the raise by taxes. The 1,350 was the total, of which 1.132 was to be raised by taxes.
Wait a minute. All right, now I'm confused.
So I guess just to kind of be analogous, and I'm getting tired here, but last year, did we not have the right top number here? That's my question. Last year.
Yeah. It's in the article.
It's in the article, but the total expenditures as we're writing it this year would be equivalent to what's on line D9.
Right.
Feels like one year or the other, we're doing something different. I mean, like, was it done incorrectly last year? I don't know. This is starting to make my head hurt. And, I mean, I'm gonna say, we don't have the individual articles here, right? So that comparison is less of an issue, as I just need the numbers, we just need the numbers to be right. And if they were,
So if I'm doing this right,
24, 9, 7, 8, 9, 7,
so we're saying taxes are going up by 35%?
and 1, 2, yes, 1, 2, 5 plus 100. So line D9 should be 1350262. D9
G9,
should be 1350262.
okay.
Line D11 is correct.
Where did that come from, Patty?
That came from the town report book for proposed FY 24, which was the select board and highway.
That's this number right down
Wait a
here.
minute.
That's this number right down here, raise and appropriate. That's the number right there
Raise and
Not raise and
appropriate.
appropriate.
for highway and select board, not whole town.
But what we don't have in here are the
the other
the
article,
non-budget items, the other articles,
Right.
right?
the other funding articles.
Okay, so how do you want to pop those in on this? Do you want? Because that should be the non-funding. We've got approved highway and select board. We also have to do, like Patty's got her own articles, right, for
Yeah.
budget, right?
Exactly.
So,
We don't, and again, stuff that's raised in separate articles, we technically don't need to deal with here. All I'm saying is that if I compare the way it was done last year with the way we're doing it here, that 1.35 was a base for taxes.
But the articles that we voted on last year, we included in the budget this year.
Yeah.
Correct.
right,
Correct, I got that.
Right.
I got that, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, from using the same part of the spreadsheet and trying to make sure we're gonna be raising enough taxes. Suddenly, we've done an addition on this one, whereas last year, it looks like it was done as a subtraction from that, how much shall be raised by taxes. That was the total, and somebody took,
So,
I don't understand, where's the addition? Just, what are the numbers you're looking at?
so what I'm saying is,
Gary, let me
this
just make it
number
easier.
That's
and
the-
this number total to this number,
Right,
right? But this number on the spreadsheet was sort of that, here's everything we need to get, right?
For only this one, that
No.
1,350 is just total highway expend, so that number and that number should be the same. That's just, that's select board and highway, not any other part of the town that would impact how much we have to raise and
Correct.
appropriate, right?
Correct, so why are we adding? Why are we adding to that number? The 400,000 that is non-tax
Right.
amount? Like, why are we adding that and getting a $2.2 million number? And the answer might be.
Wait, should we be getting, instead of the 1,350, should we be getting the 1,679? Because
No,
there were all
no,
the
no,
articles.
No,
No?
let's keep those separate for now, because I don't think it's just gonna make my head explode. So that. Does that number on 114? At any point in all of the calculations that are in there. Does that already subtract anything that was in that surplus deficit line, or anything that was like a grant?
Income.
Yeah. Does it include income in there that it shouldn't include somehow?
It includes
should.
the Ames Fund, SCOP Fund, fees and interest earned. And then this net municipal income number, which is just, whoops,
So the net municipal amount
this
Is what-
number,
on 111, the net municipal amount is for the municipal budget. Here is what we need to raise that is not gonna come from a different income source.
Last year was wrong.
Last year was wrong. Okay,
Last year was way wrong.
okay. That
I'd like to
answers-
cry.
Okay. How
I
about
mean,
we,
and
how
I
about
mean
we,
way wrong,
how about we go for a drink instead?
yeah,
way wrong.
I don't know. Oh, fuck. Oops, that was recorded. Thank you.
No, I think we all need to say it because,
So what did you find that was wrong?
the first amount of the 1.25 or the 1.35 was the raise and appropriate number,
Okay,
not the total number.
okay. Okay. All right,
Just saying.
all right, so,
okay.
Yep.
So if we're writing articles that accurately reflect what we need to raise and appropriate, then the numbers that are up here are the ones that I have typed into this warning article.
so these numbers here,
I have put, yeah, so the article as it reads right now is, shall the town approve select board and highway expenditures of $2,286,968, of which $1,822,269 shall be raised by taxes, and 414,000, sorry, oops, I have that one from the old number, sorry, let me get that in there correctly. 464,700 by non-tax revenues to care for the expenses and liabilities of the town for FY 25.
okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so,
I would get rid of that 34.92% unless you're going to
Mm-mm.
make all of the adjustments that would have to be made to make that an accurate number. Otherwise, it just looks alarming.
right.
No, that's why I was just trying to see,
And I mean, I do think that percent isn't an accurate thing to reflect, considering that there were 300,000
Yeah.
in additional things that have subsequently been put back into the budget, right?
these articles,
Yes,
Yes.
that 323,
Yes.
328.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying, was the prior year all-in budget, so this is what the difference is. The all-in budget was this number, and it now became this number, because these numbers are already,
But
working.
my question is that all in budget really all in?
well, that's a good
because-
question.
No,
Okay,
So what should I call this?
well,
This-
I don't know. Because I don't know what that 328,691 is actually
It's all the,
comprised of.
that's all the.
article.
Article monies that were over and above what was.
All of them.
It was only the ones that were over and above monies that we already had to slide over. Because anywhere there was an addition. So
So is the fund, it was,
We created funds and
Right.
sometimes we
Right.
said, we already have $50,000, let's just add 10.
Yeah,
It was only the additions
Right.
as I seem to recall.
and, but what I'm wondering about is the 100,000 for gravel, is that included in here?
Yes, because
It's
that,
included in the,
in the one,
in the
13350, because the original article as it was written was 1,250,000.
Okay, so that's where the gravel is.
Yeah.
And then the 328 is all the articles, the reserve funds plus all of the other special interest funds plus the treasurer or the treasurer's funds. Everything is included in that, right?
No, that was
No.
only the reserve. Well, let me take that back. My numbers are different.
right, because we need a page that has each of these articles and where they're coming from.
So I had written this out last year or at the beginning of this process. So we've got the budget reserve funds and, wait, now you can see what they were for. So which ones were,
These are all the articles,
these were the article amounts
Yeah.
here, yeah.
so that 328,691 does match that, right? I can't see,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's.
just
what-
that, just
what's
for,
the calculation for that, the
So-
328,691.
So this is new reserve fund money. This, if something said that there was a current balance, I didn't say that was new money. It was
Oh,
basically
okay.
transferring from one to the other.
Okay, so this isn't all of the articles then, it's just
it's just Article 4.
It's
Just the funds, it's just.
This is Article
it's
4.
just what we had
Yeah.
to raise, or it's what we had to raise by tax revenue. It's the new money. It's not the what was already there.
No, but there's also other
Well,
new money that,
There's 21 articles
Yeah.
and these numbers right there is Article 4.
exactly. That's what I was.
That's
what I
just
was
Article
getting at.
4.
So that's Article 4, and then Article 5 had 24,000, and then Article 6
Right.
had nothing, and then Article 7 had nothing, and Article 8 had.
But that's how you get to the 360, all those other articles, aren't they
I
the
did not,
328,691?
I did not include Article 5, for example, on that one, I don't think.
What did you have for Article 21, just for grins, because I usually have that written down, or I can add it up, don't
So
worry.
Article 4 is just the.
It's
that's-
just us,
That's just what we're doing now.
Yeah.
right, but we,
Yes, that this is the raise and appropriate
Right.
article.
And
right?
so there needs to be an article for the treasurer.
No, there doesn't, because that's in the budget this year. It was only there because she asked for a raise. So Article 5 is now inclusive in our budget. So that's maybe a gap with what I did here. These were reserve fund, new reserve fund is a 328. It doesn't include salary, it doesn't include her stuff, and it doesn't include the social service agencies.
what did you have for Article
I
21?
think what
Edie?
I didn't add it up.
what you might be referring to is the town clerk. It's in the budget. But this is for the treasurer, which, as I
Is the
understand
treasurer,
it, is this.
is the treasurer always a separate article, Patty?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something I didn't have in there. All right. Gotta add that.
Okay, and then,
So can I
all
do
of
that,
the
you want me to do
things-
that here? Edie?
No, because that's budget. This is the articles that this is the warning, so.
Right, this is what I'm doing here. That's what this tab is. So we can put every single one of them here, so we have it as part of
Yeah.
everything, and then we can make it nice and put it in Word. But this way, I'd like to be able to show what did we have in 24 and
Exactly.
25. So what we're saying is this first one is Article 4, right?
yeah,
Yeah, but it's not gonna say the same article number every year. We just need to be clear on that, right?
okay.
The number of
Okay.
articles is gonna change and the order of the articles is gonna change. Or could change.
yeah. But this is the, let's say, the raise and appropriate.
Well, what we can do, this is how we're gonna do it, just so that we don't lose our minds. Hold on, so we don't lose our minds. And let's not worry about what the article number is
Okay.
yet. Okay, so this we're gonna do here, so there, we're gonna go here, this is gonna be. This will be. Article number FY 24. Format. And FY 25. So let's start with Article 1 was nothing, Article 2 was nothing. Article 3 didn't have a number. This is Article 4. Right? Okay, so that's Article 4.
Article 5 is treasurer.
5 is treasurer.
Salary and expenses.
Do we have that number or do we have to get that from Patty?
I think it's gonna be the same because she didn't ask for variation there, right?
All right, so that'll be 20. So that'll be, let's do it this way.
Two.
Yep, hold on. Insert. So this will be.
Salary and expenses are the same,
That's right.
article.
This year, yeah, this year they are. Next year, maybe not. Or any other year, whatever. I just want to make sure. So that's 20, and that was 4. I've got to keep bouncing around here, so this. All right, so that's Article 5. Then,
The next article is 8, which was 5,000 in 24,
on Article 8 was reserve, audit reserve fund.
audit reserve fund. Is 0 in 25,
So sorry, that was
5,000.
5,000. Didn't we have 5,000 in there this year?
No, it's in the budget.
It's in the budget, right? It's not a separate article. Okay, so that's 0. Got it.
Article 9 is resurfacing reserve fund.
9. Resurfacing reserve fund, okay.
$89,000.31.
89,031.
Is that what was in the fund?
Yeah,
And that's, those are the ones. that, like,
89,000. Right, I need to do, well, I have to add all the pennies, and this is gonna be 0?
Yeah.
Okay,
and Article 10 is also the resurfacing reserve fund. And that's 300,000. That's the,
300,000.
so should we just ignore the ones that are?
Let's just have them all
stating
in
the
here.
balance?
Let's just have in here for now, so just so that we have everything accounted for. I think it'd be just as easy. So that's a 0 and
11 is bridge reserve fund.
What didn't we put 200,000 in that to this?
That's in the budget.
Okay, okay.
because this is establishing the funds, right?
Yeah.
I get confused, so,
59994.86.
sorry, 59994.86.
Yeah.
Hold on,
And-
let me just do something here and just make it all pennies. Okay, 599,486, this is 0 then and 25,
Yeah.
okay,
12 is cemetery perpetual care. Wait, you. And that's 11328.84.
sorry, say again, 1132.
328.84.
8.84. So 11,328.84.
Yep.
Oh, okay, hold on, I got an extra,
on.
got something there, okay. Number 13,
13 is also cemetery perpetual care, and that's 18,691.
For $218,000.
Okay, so we're not gonna panic tonight.
yep,
We've
We're
got-
not gonna panic, but do you have any idea what that means for me? It's
Um,
gonna suck.
yeah.
Well, it's not
The
just you.
last-
Yeah.
Because. Holy cow.
So I think we're gonna need, as a board, to sort of sit down and think about what does that mean for the budget, the
What
company's
change?
budget? And
Right.
also, how do we deal with it from a cash flow perspective? And you guys need to listen to this conversation instead of worrying about that right now. So,
So this is what happened. So. The amount that was, the total amount was the amount that should have been the raised and appropriated. It should have been. The first amount should have been 1,569,126. This is correct, the 218,500, that is correct.
okay,
And we should have raised and appropriated 1,3. We should have raised and appropriated this amount.
right, so there should have been a line above that, and this 103.2
Yep.
thing should have been. Okay, so that's, so when you said you were 200 and something shy.
With
We're-
this amount shy.
Okay, because it should have been added and it was subtracted.
So what's gonna happen?
Yep.
Is sometime around. I normally start running out of money around. Really running out of money around June. I'm really gonna run out of money around April.
Okay.
I thought that the account was starting to look a little low, and I'm like, this is weird to be down to about 300,000 in January.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what resources we have to try to
Well,
manage this, right? Like, can we get in touch with,
the first thing we should do.
Yeah.
Is look at what's left in the budget
okay,
and see if there's anything in the budget for FY 24 that we can stop.
okay. All right. Okay. So what can we cut? And then,
That's the first thing.
Okay.
And so then, so if you remember years back, when we ran into that huge deficit because it wasn't taken care of all the years. Brad Rafus decided to just forego the amount of money that was raised for resurfacing.
okay,
And I think a portion of it came out of the bridge fund
okay,
to take care of, and I have all the notes somewhere.
okay,
But it was resurfacing and the bridge fund, that we stopped. That he just said, well, we just won't do that.
okay. And then I think the second part of that is what can we stop in the current fiscal year? And what do we need to borrow or think about? Borrowing.
But borrowing is only in anticipation of taxes. That's the only way that you can borrow on that. And it's due when the taxes come in. The note,
Okay. So,
or up to a year. You get a year.
right, because it's a short term one.
okay, so borrowing, how do we cover the amount? But somehow we can't go into a deficit situation this year. Something would have to be done, correct?
So one lucky thing.
Yep.
is we got $60,000 back from the school
Okay,
just a couple months ago
Okay.
because of the difference in the education fund when we submitted the 411.
okay,
So that came back.
okay.
And was that in the budget or is that in the non-stuff that we look
It
at?
was unexpected. I only got it back a couple months ago.
So that's a windfall.
That is a win for us. So we're
Okay.
really looking at what? I can't do math.
Okay,
Two 18 less 60.
So it's 150.
how much do we have in the ARPA money? I mean, again, I don't know that, I mean, what I'm suggesting is if we need to rectify the situation in this budget, we can figure that out, right? We need to figure it out.
Yeah.
We still have time to figure that out.
Mhm.
So, so that I think need to be a priority for getting ourselves back on track.
Yeah, we're not gonna figure it out tonight.
We're not gonna figure it out tonight. So, so let's kind of just do a collective breath and figure out what else we have. We still have a booklet to put together, but I think we have budget work to do that we didn't anticipate, right?
Mhm.
And so I think we're gonna need to meet again to sort of figure this out, put this line item in here somehow. And address the fact that we have to, make this change. And we also, in order to meet our town meeting deadlines, need to set up an informational meeting. We still need the auditors to do their thing.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
This can buy us some time.
Yeah.
We did this last time. We skipped the whole printer thing. And we printed it in-house, which buys us about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay,
I mean, you still have to have the warning done with the amount of the budget by whatever date that is, the 9th or 5th or whatever the date is, the 4th, I don't know what date it is.
No meetings on the 5th.
But it would take the pressure off from having to get it to the printer.
On February 5th, which is next week.
Yep, so we just have to get the warning in this amount done, but if it means, you know, printing it in-house, we can do that. We've done it before. It's a pain in the ass, but we can do it.
Right, and I talked to you, I've got the binding machine. I'll just bring in my binding machine. And we'll,
the last day to post the warning for town meeting, 30 days prior to town meeting, is February 4th.
Yep.
Okay,
so that
So
warning is dated
Everything
coming up.
has to be done and printed. I mean, the warning with the budget amount has to be printed by that day.
okay,
That's next week. Okay.
okay. You know, in terms of the warning itself, let's cover this really quickly because it was on the agenda. The articles that we need to have, I have that we're warned to meet at a certain date and time. To hear the report of the town officers is one article. The next article is shall the town collect taxes for the town and Halifax School District as follows. Taxes will be due on or before September 30th, 2024, payable to town treasurer. Taxes will become due. I don't know, I might have to rekey this. Penalties and interest to the collector of delinquent taxes. I don't think that's correct, the wording here. So, but basically, when do we pay our taxes and when are the taxes past due and who do you pay your past due taxes to? The next one is the raise and appropriate. The next one is, shall the town set the treasurer's budget for salary and collection of current taxes at 20,000 plus 4,000 for expenses for FY 25? Let me write the right year in here. The next one is that 1% tax on rooms, which I have in italics. I don't know if we should do that. The next one is an article to fund wings.
Well, that one, the 1% one, if you remember, was tabled or passed over because of lack of information. And unless you have more information
My
to give the
intent-
voters.
My intention was to have the information to give them proper information, and they could pass over it again if they want to as well. But I'm also, that's me saying, can I commit to getting that information and being able to
And where were
present
we
it?
getting that information? Were we
I was
gonna
gonna
go back to the listers
I was
and,
gonna go to the statute and read the statute and then find out like.
oh,
what-
okay, and I
like,
thought part of it was that we wanted to find out how many potential properties we had.
That would be like the librarian research, which, like I would
Okay.
just go to VRBO and say Halifax, Vermont, VRBO properties. But nonetheless,
Okay.
I'm not committed to having that in there, if it becomes a problem. The next one is to raise and appropriate for wings, which I need to copy what they have here, but validate that it is considered neutral enough somehow, because it says what their programming is for.
So what article number is that gonna be? Wings?
Right now it's 5, no, wait, sorry, the numbers are all screwed up. Don't put a number on it, because I'm renumbering these. This is.
I know, but which one does it relate to in the old one? Cause that's the one I'm,
I don't know.
Brand new.
I don't.
Okay.
I switched them
Because,
around.
because you take it out of, the wings will be taken out of that big giant one at the end and made its own separate article.
oh, it's not
because they're-
21 anymore. it's
No,
something else.
because they are asking for more money.
Got it.
Yep, so that one is number 6, and number 7 is the service appropriations. And that's all I had for that, and then there's a separate thing here, they did it in the opposite order. According to VLCT, but we could again figure out if this is vital. The second piece was which articles would be voted on by Australian ballot, which is simply the list of offices, the length of the term, as it was on the website.
What's that one? Is that a new one?
No, it used to be, it was on the front last time. It was the very first article.
Oh, right.
And
Do we have to put it at the end? I just
I-
think it looks funny.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't sort of go back to the training that I went through for VLCT. I just took their template and I was like, well, they have it the other way. Does it matter? I don't know. I'll figure it out. But what is interesting is that they had Article 1 on Australian ballot and Article 1 from the floor. So the numbering was even, that to me is more confusing. But
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I like it the way that we do it.
Yeah, well, I will, before we finalize it, I will try to figure out what, like, does it have to be this direction or can we switch it around? And they'll probably say, fine. So is there any other thing that we need to do with an article? I was gonna miss the treasurer thing because I didn't realize that was in the budget, but
Yeah, you don't put it in your budget, it's a separately voted
Okay.
article. I mean, not that you can't, but
okay. But, I think it's a much smaller number of articles
Yeah,
to discuss.
Right, so this is what we were doing just to kind of help you get there. So for 15, in this case, it was, whoops. So we're putting right here, Edie, these are the article numbers in last year's book. These are the numbers, and then we've got to the extent we have numbers over here, we're just gonna name, there'll be election of town officers, there'll be a report.
Okay, but
There'll
don't
be
put the numbers there
collect.
because that's not, like, this document is going to be whatever it is. Don't put numbers in there yet. I just don't want to get us ahead of the game, right?
Okay,
That's not gonna drive the warning and, because this has to go out separately.
no, I understand,
Okay.
but I'm just trying to go, okay,
The only thing that I cared about from that is like making sure the numbers are accurate, and
Yep.
that's where we got to the,
right, and that's what
like,
we're gonna,
oopsie last year.
okay.
Okay. All right, one other thing that's different, and I will check with the VLCT training, is that I have changed Article 7 to include $200 for Brattleboro Area Hospice, and then death and grief support. Deerfield Valley Food Pantry, hunger and food insecurity relief. I don't know, I'll double check if they recommended this, but I hate the thing that every year we're like, well, who the heck are these people? What does the gathering place do? Like that kind
Oh,
of.
is this Article 21? You're talking
Yeah.
about last year's Article
Yeah.
21? Yes,
Like, does it make sense to put a third column in here and make poor
we could.
Paul read that too? But at least it's clearer for what, why do we have Whitingham Firemen's Association on here? I put it down for emergency medical services because I think they're covering the EMS piece. So anyway, so we've got that. and if if anything else comes up, let me know, but I will work to get this pulled together too.
And have these people all sent us in requests?
So the way that it works is if they didn't change the amount, we put them in again, and if we wanted them to not submit, we would have had to get an article from, or a letter from the executive director saying, no, we don't need to do Visiting Nurses Association anymore because they're not serving us. We kind of I didn't push him for that. I just said, are you still serving us? Doesn't sound like there's very much happening, but
But we gotta pay it this year because it was on the article
Right.
and the voters did it. So when
Yeah.
you rewrite 21, you'll probably, eliminate that line?
no, I can't do it without them saying we don't want the money. And they sent the thing saying we want the money.
Oh, they did send a thing in.
Yeah, they sent a report in.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
so
then it goes on.
on
But
it
it's up to
goes.
the voters.
The voters could decide to do something different, but we have to word it neutrally.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
Okay.
so anyway, all right. So what else do we have on our agenda? The excavator, again, we'll have to think about that another time. But I think we've covered everything to at least a high level here. When are we gonna meet again to talk about our budget? Our raise and appropriate problem from last year, and think about how we're gonna put that into this,
Into the mix
into
here.
this budget,
Yeah,
yeah.
the sooner the better. So when are we available? Only thing I have right now is I have Karen and Mike at 9 o'clock on Monday. Tell us the equipment for the equipment schedule.
You mean this week?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll probably have to do it remotely.
Um. I don't, we need 24 hours notice, right?
yeah.
Well,
Thanks,
it's
Tuesday.
an emergency meeting.
It's an emergency. I don't think it's quite an emergency yet. Thursday,
Close.
Thursday, 6?
Thursday, hold on, Thursday, which Thursday? Thursday, this Thursday?
Yeah,
25th.
I
6
won't be
p.m.?
there, but,
okay.
Kind of need you.
Okay, could you kind of propose a different time, Patrick?
hmm,
Friday night date? Date night?
There's nothing competing on my social calendar.
Mine either, surprisingly.
Unless we do
We still have Saturday morning.
We do
Thursday at noon.
Thursday at noon?
Well, how long do we think this is
I
gonna
cannot
take?
be there. If you needed me there, I cannot be there Thursday at noon.
I think we need you, Patty.
I can't, medical.
Yep, I know.
Okay.
Friday at noon?
But how much time will we have for you, Patrick, if that's the middle of your day? Cause this is gonna take more than an hour. I guess, I would expect, or 2 hours.
Yeah.
I just don't know how long.
You have to work,
I don't know.
Thursday,
Saturday
I mean,
morning?
Thursday. No, and then I'm flying out, so.
Okay,
Honestly, I think you guys should schedule something and I will try to call in, but my calendar is pretty booked.
Thursday at 6.
Yeah, we could do tomorrow night, Thursday night, Friday night, as far as I'm concerned.
Tomorrow night you can't warn it.
Well, we could do it
Unless you're planning
emergency.
to meet at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Well, it could be an emergency meeting though. I mean, this
It
is
could
kind of,
be,
this
it
could
could
be,
be.
this is, I wouldn't hesitate to put that classification on it.
I think it would be good to just like, for my perspective. You know, like, again, a little deep breathing, a little bit of like, it's only money, it's only money.
Scotch.
Yeah. Let's try Thursday at 6 if that,
Okay.
if we can.
But Patrick, can you be here Thursday at 6? You're saying no?
No,
Thursday at 5?
I can try to, all I can promise is that I can try to call in. But I have meetings, scheduled.
Okay,
And these are all preparing for next week in Turkey, so.
Yeah, yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
It's hard for me to just,
okay.
clear my schedule,
Okay, well,
unfortunately.
let's schedule Thursday at 6, and then if Patrick can make it, great. And if we really get stuck without him, we'll reschedule another one. We'll try to do it again or something.
You know, like, to some extent, we might not have like a whole lot of choice here, right? It might be like.
No, I think it might be kind of a short meeting because we're not gonna have a lot of options here.
So we're saying Thursday.
Well,
at 6?
Patty, what time are you available on Thursday?
Well, I
Yeah.
can do that. I'm just not available
Noontime, right?
In the middle of the day.
in the middle of, I'm not available in the middle of the day.
Well, what about
Like-
like 4, 3?
Yeah, I'm back in town by 3, 4 o'clock.
Okay,
I can do that.
Ooh, I'm not available between 3 and 5.
Hmm.
I can try and move that though.
Well,
This
I
has been
mean,
on my calendar for like a
Yeah.
while, but I can, if I have to move it, I'll move it. If that's what everybody else, because I think we have to have Patty, I think we have to have. I love to have Tristan too,
I
but
mean, I'm also good for 6 on Thursday.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking I could do it earlier, but I can't do it after 5.
How bad do you not wanna move your stuff on Thursday?
I'll move it. If we have to move it, I'll move it. I mean,
Alright.
I'll have to move it.
can we do 4?
Yeah, I'll just, if we can.
I don't know what I've got, but on my work calendar, but. There's usually not any taxonomy emergencies.
So 4 to 6 on Thursday.
Okay. Don't put 6 o'clock on the warning though, just in
No.
case we are able to.
Edie, thank you for finding that error.
Kind of wish I hadn't.
I'm glad that you did.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
your
know.
batteries, close your batteries running low before we
Save.
hit save.
Are you done with it? Want me to plug it in? I can plug it in.
Yeah, just for the second, just so that we don't really get messed up.
Okay.
It's off on this side.
Oh, we just go right in there?
Yep.
Okay. And you're still screen sharing. I'm not sure how that got there though.
Oh,
Don't know anything
none of
about
those
that.
are how I feel right now.
I don't know how that,
It's
I don't know.
Not a laughing crying emoji, it's just the straight up crying,
I don't
right?
know
Yeah,
how we got that. Did I touch
If you
something?
can escape, I don't know.
and the little X in the upper
Okay.
corner.
So
But it's
can-
not,
can
that's
like
not
that.
me,
I
that's
make a
on the,
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
and the
Second.
time is 9:33.
Yeah,
Oh, that's not even on my screen.
No, it's the 9:33. It's on here somewhere.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, well, so there's
All
been,
right, 9:33. Who did the motion to adjourn?
I think I did.
and Patrick
Patrick
seconded.
seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Scheduled. Thursday,